savings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and I've been a fan of Hale Center Theater from the very beginning. But there is something about this season that is just off the charts. Maybe it's due to the 3 stages now, which accommodate an amazing variety. Take, for example, showing right now on the Beehive stage, Thornton Wilder's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel and Tony Award-winning play is an absolute must-see. It's Our Town. This is a touching story focusing on 2 families in a small town, the sorrows, the joys, the reflections of lives well lived. And then, coming up, we've got Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. The music, the staging, the pure fun of it makes Joseph an all-time favorite. And in mid-August, it's Moriarty. This is the time for you to lock down your tickets for all of the wonderful productions at Hale Center Theater. And all you have to do is go to hct.org.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Cormac Bone, we got some issues.
Yeah, that's right, Andy, especially on northbound I-15. Now, there's this crash at the I-80-201 interchange. They're blocking 2 left lanes and causing some very dense traffic, reaching back toward about 5300 South, where it meets up with the regular morning delays that start at 7200 South. And it's also slow transitioning from North 15 onto eastbound 215 at the South interchange. Looks like there's just some heavy traffic reaching from I-15 onto 215 and causing some extra buildup on the South Belt. When things go wrong in Utah's backcountry, Search and Rescue answers the call. Train volunteers who head into danger so you can come home safe. Support them at rescue.utah.gov. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast today, cloudy with scattered rain showers, but today it's only supposed to get up to a high of 97 degrees, and today's the last day it looks like in the next 7 that we're going to see any chances for rain. We hit triple digits for the next 3 or 4 days starting tomorrow. Right now it's 84 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
That was Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is testifying this morning on Capitol Hill before Congress. He's been brought in to answer questions about whether or not he misled Congress early on, Jim, when they were trying to find out the origins of the COVID virus. I'm Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Jim Bennett, who's here filling in again this morning. Thanks for bailing me out again.
Oh, love to be here. Thank you for having me.
So the weather person just said it's 85 degrees. Anthony Fauci is 85 years old, and he is about to invoke the Fifth Amendment for the 85th time. So I think there's a theme going here.
There's some kind of numerology at work.
This is really weird. He's invoked it over 70 times, and it's odd because he's in front of the Senate committee. They're asking him questions about whether or not he lied to Congress years ago about the origins of the coronavirus, the COVID-19. And the question is whether or not, I think what they were trying to find out is whether it came from a lab in China or whether it came from a market in China. And they were trying to find out whether this was leaked from some Chinese lab and it was some sort of a conspiracy to they were developing some sort of virus, or whether it was some monkey that got it and transmitted it to a human. And I mean, it's odd, and he testified at the time with Congress that it came from the market, but he's also submitted now some diaries at the time where he said something a little different, that it may have come from a lab. We can't show that it came from a market. So they're using his own diaries against him in this hearing to try to establish whether or not he had lied to Congress years ago when they were trying to find out the origins of this virus.
Well, I know that when this was going on, the idea that it came from a lab was initially dismissed as a conspiracy theory.
Right.
That only crazy people could think it would have come from a lab, and then there was some evidence that it wasn't quite that crazy. But my understanding is that we still don't really know, do we? We don't have any sort of definitive proof as to where it came from.
Yeah, I don't think we do. My guess is that the Chinese know more than they're disclosing, that somebody's figured something out. But I would also say this. I don't know that it matters. I mean, the fact is that the coronavirus did appear, and people were concerned about our response to it. Of course, we're looking back now. Hindsight's obviously 2020. It's been almost 7 years now. And, should we have had mask mandates? Should we have shut down the government, shut down everything? Should there have been this huge hit on our economy? Or should we have just let more and more people die? I mean, I guess that's where you are. There are still people who deny that it was even anything other than just a hoax, but there were certainly people who lost family members, so they know it wasn't a hoax. But it is something that's around forever. And this poor Anthony Fauci, what troubles me, Jim, is he kept a diary, 1,100 pages. You've got to ask yourself why. I mean, what was that for?
Well, how did Senator Paul get a hold of that diary?
I think it was part of his government computer. I think he had it on some sort of a server that was open, part of his government, what he was doing there, maybe trying to keep some records of what he was doing. But it almost, if you read it, some of his quotes are like, he's almost talking about how famous he is, and this has really gotten big, and he knows all these movie stars, and he was larger than life at the time, and I think he served the country very well. But people were very concerned about, what we're doing, and people thought he got a little bit too big for his britches.
Well, and that may well be. I don't understand how that's any sort of a criminal offense to get a little bit big for your britches. At the time, Anthony Fauci seemed to be the only person that didn't sound like a raving lunatic. And this is a time when the President of the United States was suggesting that we should drink bleach.
Right.
Right. You could always depend on Dr. Fauci to say something reasonable. Now, was he entirely correct? I think it's would have been impossible for that to have been the case. We were improvising on the fly. This was a massive, this was a massive pandemic, global pandemic. And of course you're going to make some mistakes along the way, but I don't understand, and you're the lawyer, but I don't understand what his legal exposure here is. What is it that they're saying? Because Senator Paul wants to lock him up, wants to put him in jail. What has he done that could possibly merit being
right?
And he's also been pardoned.
Right,
President Biden gave him a sweeping pardon. So
I know. So the question is this: did he lie to Congress? That is a criminal offense, and it's punishable by a potential for jail or imprisonment. I think Biden can give him a pardon from, any criminal responsibility as it relates to, I don't even know what he could pardon him for, but I don't know that you can pardon somebody for lying to Congress. You know what I mean? I don't know that a pardon would encompass that. But, of course, a presidential pardon seems pretty broad. And like you said, Biden's pardon seemed to be a fairly blanket pardon, which begs the question, because the senators are saying to this, every time Anthony Fauci raises the Fifth Amendment, they say, well, you're pardoned. You don't have a Fifth Amendment privilege. And he's like, I'm not going for that, because they're looking at him. They're absolutely after him, and any smart attorney is going to advise him not to answer questions on the grounds that it could incriminate him in their minds, even though I don't think he's done anything criminal. I don't think he's did anything wrong. I think he did what he thought was right to serve the public. But if they're looking for a scapegoat and they're looking for somebody, some heads to roll, he's clearly in their crosshairs. So I don't blame his attorney for advising him to take the Fifth Amendment.
Well, even at the time, there were all of these videos and all of these conspiracy theories that had Fauci at the center of creating the virus, which is really just absurd.
Right.
But you look at that, the thing that really depresses me is, as we get farther and farther away from the pandemic, the revisionist history gets harder and harder to correct. And there are a number of people that talk about how the vaccine killed more people than the coronavirus, which is just absolutely absurd.
Right. I know.
I lost a cousin to the coronavirus. I lost a dear childhood friend to the coronavirus. And this is personal for me.
Yeah.
The idea that this was some kind of hoax, but it was the vaccine that was the problem, that's a story that's taking hold among the MAGA faithful, and it just needs to be countered every place you can counter it.
And I don't know whether that'll happen, but when we come back after the break, I have a lot of thoughts about this. You apparently do too. Is this a sham investigation? Is this something political, or are there real questions that the American public needs to know? And what was even in Dr. Fauci's diary that's prompted this whole thing? We're going to talk about all of that after this. Stay with us.
Wow, this is the time of year when the temperatures are off the chart, and it's not the time for us to go into our backyards where it is so warm, fire up the hot grill, and then slap on a steak, and then stand there and try to make it taste as good as Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. First of all, it's impossible. So why not just go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse for the best meal you have had all summer long? The steaks cooked to perfection, other wonderful entrees as well, from seafood to poultry, you name it, the side dishes, the desserts. You don't have to do the cleanup. You don't have to stand there over the hot grill. You just sit back in that air-conditioned comfort with the people you love, and you have a dining experience that you're going to remember. Hotel Park City up in Summit County, there's a Ruth's Chris there, and downtown Salt Lake City, 275 Southwest Temple.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see. quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Progressive knows you could have easily taken the freeway, but you took the scenic route to see a waterfall and an oddly busy boiled peanut stand. Discovering the unexpected is exactly why you bought an RV, so protect it with a bundle from Progressive. Because although you may be 3 hours behind schedule, you're 6 jars of jam richer and possibly enrolled in a butter churning workshop. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
When you see this in your kitchen,
The stainless steel fridge is covered in fingerprints.
you hear this.
Leslie, people are going to think you were raised in a barn or by wolves, or raised in a barn by wolves.
Fortunately, Wyman Stainless Steel 3-in-1 cleans, shines, and protects to give you the best shine. A spray and a wipe will have your fridge shining like a mirror.
Wow, my fridge looks brand new. Your fridge looks amazing, Leslie. Sorry, I was being a little dramatic earlier.
Your kitchen says a lot about you. Let it brag with Wyman.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, it's been more than 6 years since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're going back to the very beginning. It's actually getting close to 7 years. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the man behind the initial pandemic response for the country, appeared before a Senate committee to answer questions about some journal entries he made. Actually, he's still appearing before the Senate committee to answer questions.
Right, and he's still not answering any questions. He's invoked the Fifth Amendment every time. His lawyer tried to speak up, and he was removed from the hearing.
Yeah, and so what is it that Dr. Fauci's personal diary had that's so interesting? We want to listen a little bit more. Here, Dr. Fauci invokes the Fifth Amendment again, and his attorney tried to interject. Let's see what happens next.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
The chairman has denied your assertion of privilege and directed you to answer, but you nonetheless refuse and stand on privilege despite the existence of the pardon. The committee will have to consider after this hearing what appropriate action should be taken against you for the failure to testify after being directed to do so. It's against the law to obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today. Senator Peters, you're not recognized. You're not recognized. If you are unruly, you will be removed from the proceeding. You are not recognized, and you are not recognized, sir. Sir, you are not recognized. You are not recognized. Security, we'll hold off. But you will respect these proceedings. You were told not to sit at the table. You insist on sitting at the table, and we told you you would not be recognized. You are not invited here for testimony, sir. You are being disruptive. Would you behave this way in a courtroom? No, because the judge would put you in jail. I can't do that today, but I can have you escorted from the premises. So I would say, sir, sit quietly and don't say another word. I said, sit quietly. You are not recognized. Another word and you're gone.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear what the attorney has to say.
He is not recognized by the committee or the chair. If he speaks again, he will be removed from the room. This testimony is from Anthony Fauci. This is not a game with his lawyers. He can advise. His lawyers can give him advice. He's got a half dozen here. They're all allowed to talk to him.
Yes.
All right? But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered, for a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
And that's exactly what happened. So that conversation was mostly between the senator, the inquiring senator, and Fauci's attorney who was trying to speak. It's an awkward situation you're in, and I've done this maybe 100 times, Jim, where you're with a client and you're trying to allow them to answer questions, but you also recognize that a prosecuting entity, I mean, you just can't take chances as an attorney. And so you invoke the Fifth Amendment. And I know people think that means you're hiding something, but it sometimes just means that you're exercising your rights under the Constitution of the United States of America, which you have the right to do. And when you've got a group like the senators here who clearly have their crosshairs on Anthony Fauci and clearly want to do something to him criminally, given what they're doing on other matters, I think that the attorney had no choice but to advise his client to invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Well, this all seems to be kind of a wild gray area in that he has received this pardon, this blanket pardon, but this is testimony before Congress, and you're the lawyer. The difference between testimony before Congress versus testimony in a courtroom, and taking the Fifth Amendment when you're talking to Congress versus taking the Fifth Amendment in a courtroom. Is there some difference there?
No, and it's a great question because he got a pardon from Biden, but it was kind of a conditional pardon. In other words, he's saying, okay, you're pardoned from whatever happened during that time, but he's not pardoned for what is happening today, because it hadn't happened yet when he got the pardon. So if the senators believe that today in his testimony he lies, he can be prosecuted for that. And they're setting him up to do just that.
Which is why he's taking the Fifth Amendment.
Which is why he's taking the Fifth Amendment, because his attorney is saying, look, pardon's great. Biden was great. He's gone. And the current administration is not going to look very favorably on that. So we can't allow our client to answer questions because you will come back and say, okay, you got pardoned for things you did 6 years ago, but you didn't get pardoned for what you did on July 29th, 2026, because it hadn't happened yet. So I think that's where his attorney is trying to be a little more circumspect and say, hey, you shouldn't be able to force him to answer questions. So the remedy, of course, is now what do? Because they're saying you don't have a Fifth Amendment right. You got pardoned. You have to answer our questions. His attorney's saying, heck, he doesn't. We don't know that what you guys are going to do or what level you're going to prosecute him. So he's taking the more cautious approach and advising his client to assert the Fifth Amendment. It's just a circus, because what happens is, and it happens no matter who's questioning, whether it's the Republicans questioning who they believe is a Democratic leaning doctor, or the Democrats
who was initially appointed by George H.W. Bush.
Right, yeah, or the Democrats questioning, a Republican appointed would-be attorney general or something like that. The things that are troubling about these is these senators are asking questions that are not questions at all. They're statements, they're comments, and they go on for minutes. And it's just frustrating for me as a trial lawyer to listen to these, the way that the Democrats question Trump's appointees to positions. Like, just ask the question. The way these senators are asking Fauci questions, just ask the question. But they really don't care about the question. They don't care about any of that. They want to give a speech. They want to impress their audience. And it's just frustrating to me, because if I went to a court of law and gave a question that was preceded by a 2-minute statement, the judge would say, where are we going here, Skordas? Question is, did you see this? Did you do that? What happened next? That's a question. Not, well, the COVID virus did this and we did that. And we saw this and we saw that. So what do you think about that? I mean, anyway, it's just frustrating to me. And so I don't blame his attorneys for what they've done and advising him to take the Fifth. I do think it was odd that they removed the attorney from the proceedings. I mean, they just said, you speak one more time and you're out of here. And he spoke like I don't know, maybe that wasn't the smartest thing in the world. So they said, then you're out of here. And they also said, you can't sit with your client. So, sit behind him. I've sat behind clients, and I just tell them, when you feel my foot in your butt, that means assert the Fifth Amendment. You know, when I kick your chair, that means quit talking. You know what I mean? Because you can sit next to them and say, my client wishes to invoke, but sometimes they don't want to hear from the attorney. I mean, there are ways that you can advise your clients sort of stealthily not to answer questions. But I think what they've told him is don't answer any questions.
Well, this just strikes me as nothing but political theater. I don't understand what the goal here is. I mean, if the goal is simply to lock up Anthony Fauci for whatever, I don't understand what that accomplishes. I don't understand why we're wasting this much time on something that I don't know has any sort of consequence to what's happening in 2026.
And what they're going to do now, of course, at the end of the proceedings, is they will vote on whether or not he is in contempt of Congress by not answering questions. And that is a separate problem. That's a separate issue for him. Now, I don't know how a person can be held in contempt of anything under the law, but again, I've only done this for 44 years. When you invoke the Fifth Amendment,
right.
how that could even possibly put you in contempt of anything, because the Fifth Amendment trumps everything else that's going on. Apparently, he's leaving now. They're going to vote on that. They're through with the questioning. But that was they started at 8 a.m. Eastern time, so they've been going there for about 3 hours, and he literally didn't answer any questions. We got over 80 times that he invoked the Fifth Amendment, and his attorneys were removed from the proceedings. I don't know where it's going to go, but this was political theater, like you say, that happens far too often in this country.
Well, he's also 85 years old. I didn't realize he was that old. They're dragging him out, and I just don't understand what the point is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got their questioning. I think everybody's still wondering if this was some sort of a Chinese conspiracy, and if Fauci knew about it and hid some information. I can't imagine as a doctor he did anything other than what he thought was the right thing to do, and was doing what he felt at the time was the appropriate thing to do. I mean, certainly some very brilliant scientists found a antidote, a cure, whatever you want to call it, something for the virus, and we all got that. And luckily, some of us that got that didn't get corona or didn't get COVID. Actually, I did, even though I got the vaccine. I got it a couple times, but maybe it wasn't as bad as it could have been because I got the vaccine. Anyway, enough of that. Next up on Inside Sources, let's come back to Utah and go in depth on a new filing from a Utah County prosecutor on the Tyler Robinson case. They say there's more than enough evidence to go to trial, so why are we still waiting? The latest on the investigation into the murder of Charlie Kirk when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour: Salt Lake City is trying to ease worries over license plate readers as some residents bring up concerns over mass surveillance. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The city is looking to adopt a new code that would outline uses for the readers already in place and where new ones would go. It also addresses who has access to that information. The city started to conjure a new camera data policy after getting more than $200,000 to expand the fleet near Beck Street. Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd says we need tech, but it has to be something sustainable, something that people trust. The newly proposed policy would also create punishments for misusing the data internally, that of which could lead to a criminal or disciplinary investigation. A public hearing on the issue will be held on September 15th. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. U.S. forces across the Middle East are on high alert after a surprise attack by Iran, breaking a days-long pause in the fighting. ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reports from the White House.
Saudi Arabia under fire from Iranian-backed groups in the region, shooting down drones in the eastern part of the country. Overnight, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia retaliating, striking Iran-backed proxy groups in Iraq. The first time Saudi Arabia has carried out strikes in that country since the start of the war. And in the Red Sea, the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen claim to have struck a Saudi oil tanker, threatening another critical waterway in the Middle East.
The conflict could escalate across the Middle East. Your money at this moment, perhaps on the back of that. The Dow down 815 points to 51,931. The NASDAQ down 275 points to 24,601. And the S&P down almost a full percent to 7369. Coming up, today's the coolest of the next Oh, I don't know, 7 days? KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or back problems, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming on.
And how about working more comfortably, like Dennis?
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. I could do my job and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow's gonna be. It's gonna be positive.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. pigeonship.com.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
Starting to see those delays on northbound I-15 ease up just a little, but it is still very slow from the south interchange up to 3300 south. That was due to a crash that was near the I-80-201 interchange. They've cleared that off the road, so that's why we're starting to see it ease up, but it is still very slow north 15. Southbound I-15 in Utah County seeing delays from 400 south down to the US 6 turnoff in Springville, and that's due to a crash as well. That is blocking a right shoulder there. And we also have a crash reported southbound I-215's westbound approaching I-80 that near the airport. They are out of traffic and in the right shoulder. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast today, cloudy with scattered rain showers. It will stay hot, though. Highs of about 97 predicted right now. And it will get warmer throughout the week, reaching a potential high of 106 on Saturday. Right now it's 84 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And this is Jim Bennett in for Holly Richardson this week. And the preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing political activist Charlie Kirk, is on hold until September, but the prosecutors in Utah County say the judge needs to move forward and take the case to trial.
Yeah, and I talked about this case before. This preliminary hearing was 10 months in the making. This is a homicide that occurred on September 10th of 2025. The preliminary hearing was held in July of 2026. It was a 4.5-hour preliminary hearing that went 4.5 days.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying it would have been the kind of thing you could have done in shorter order. But this is a death penalty case. It's a capital case, and so I understand both sides wanting to cross all their T's and dot all their I's, and I can also understand the judge saying, okay, we're going to give you sort of carte blanche here. But what happened was this. The homicide occurred in September of 2025. Tyler Robinson was charged with the crime, and of course he's presumed innocent. He had a preliminary hearing. It took a very, very long time to go, and in fact I think the defense was still trying to get it continued even up until it went, but it did go. There were some concerns about how it went forward. The prosecution put on his roommate, his lover/roommate, who testified about some statements that Tyler Robinson made after the homicide that would have been seen as a confession, admission. He didn't testify in person. He testified via videotape, and actually it was recorded. So the defense couldn't cross-examine him, obviously, because he wasn't there. And that was frustrating for the defense because the Constitution provides the right to confront and cross-examine your accusers. That doesn't always apply at a preliminary hearing because we allow what's called hearsay at a preliminary hearing. Otherwise, they would be as long as the trial. This one was far too long anyway, but it got pretty long. And so the judge said, no, I'm not going to make him come, and I'm not going to make him testify in person. We'll just let the state put on their thing and their videotape, and we'll play it. And it's important to know, Jim, that a preliminary hearing is just that. It's preliminary to the trial. It's something that the state puts on sufficient evidence to show a judge that there is probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and that the accused committed it. Not proof that he did it, not no doubt in my mind that he did it, just probable cause. It's a very low standard. And in fact, a court is required under the law to find the evidence in the light most favorable to the state. So if there's a dispute as to whether this or that occurred, and the state says, no, this occurred, the judge is really required almost to follow the state's inclination. You know what I mean? So it's a very low standard, and that's what a preliminary hearing is. Now, after it ended, I know I'm rambling here, which was 5 days, 4.5 days of just torture for me as a lawyer. But anyway, they did what they had to do. The judge then said, okay, you would expect him to just rule and say, okay, enough evidence, let's go to trial. The judge says, no, I'm going to give the state until the end of July to tell me why it should be bound over. The defense would then have until August 11th to say why it shouldn't, and then the state can put a reply in, and then we're coming back in September around the 1st, and then the judge will decide if it should be bound over. So what we're talking about today, it took me a long time to get here, is the state has filed their response and said it should be bound over, and here's why. And one of the things they said is it's not even a close case. It's we put on sufficient evidence, and we think you should bind the case over.
Well, what's amazing about this is that by dragging their feet, they've opened the door to a whole bunch of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
That are really kind of stupid. One of them, I've actually been talking on a bunch of podcasts about this because Candace Owens has said that this is all part of the Mormon Mafia under Howard Hughes, and that somehow has gone on. And my father worked for Howard Hughes, and the Mormon Mafia was the name that was given to anybody who worked for Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes was nuts and only hired members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Has absolutely nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. And when you drag your feet on something like this, we live in this conspiratorial world, and you're just opening the door to a whole bunch of nonsense.
Oh, and I had some limited involvement with the early stages of the case, being asked by the Utah County Commission to find defense lawyers that were competent to handle a death penalty case and to help set up a contract for them. It gave some people the misperception that I was the attorney on the case, that I was Tyler Robinson's attorney. Some people thought that because I was seen as, appearing in court. And I started getting literally these conspiracy theory people say, hey, here's how you can save your client. Here's what really happened. I mean, these bizarre things like a ship flew over the thing over the time of the shooting, and almost like a spaceship, but like a
time travel
drone,
I think
and
might be
like,
part of this.
come on. And finally, I'm like, you guys, I'm not the attorney, so don't give me all this stuff. It's not appropriate. But anyway, the judge will almost certainly bind it over, and I think that the prosecution's right that it isn't a close case. It may be a close case at trial. I mean, certainly a jury's got to hear the case, and Tyler Robinson's entitled to the presumption of innocence. He's entitled to the state having to put on their case by proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a very high standard. He's entitled to a unanimous verdict of 12 jurors that find that the state has proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And though those are really high standards, none of those apply at a preliminary hearing. The preliminary hearing is, hey, do we have enough of a case to go to trial? And the answer is certainly yes. But the judge is going to make that decision. The defense will weigh in, and they'll say, here's why we don't think you should bind it over. Then the state will have its day, and then we'll come back, and there will be a hearing in September where both sides will then make their argument, and the judge will make a ruling. Now, at that point, Jim, we will be 1 year from the date of the homicide, and we have only crossed the preliminary hearing, which is one of the very first steps in the process.
Well, the way you're talking about this, you're framing this in a very sort of responsible, dot all your I's and cross all your T's sort of way. And I always appreciate that when you talk about these things, you always make it important to say that he's presumed innocent.
Right.
And I can understand in a capital case why maybe people want to spend a little more time just to make sure that something this significant, that nothing is missed. But the way you're describing this, the preliminary hearing shouldn't be the place where that slowdown is taking place. That should be the trial.
Right. It's just that in a criminal case, that's a very good point, Jim, a very good point. In a criminal case, sometimes the preliminary hearing is the only chance a defense attorney gets to question witnesses. In a civil case, you can take a deposition. You can bring them in and ask them questions under oath. You can't do that in a criminal case. In a civil case, you can send them interrogatories and say, you need to answer these questions. You can't do that in a criminal case. You can call them on the phone and say, do you want to talk? And if they say no, then you're kind of done. You can have an investigator go talk to them, and if they don't want to talk, you're done. So a preliminary hearing is an important step in the process, and I appreciate the court giving the defense and the prosecution every opportunity to do this right, because we don't want to be revisiting this case 20 years from now and saying, hey, we did that wrong. Let's start the process over.
Absolutely. Well, coming up next on Inside Sources, a Utah judge is resigning only a couple of years into his role, saying the workload is too much. We want to talk to our in-house legal expert about the judge's remarks after the break.
What if 4 weeks from now, everything in your life was different? Your energy, your weight, the way your clothes fit. That is what the SOTA Dynamic Diet is built to do. And right now, listeners of this show can get 4 free weeks when they call 866-800-SOTA and mention KSL News Radio. Now, I contacted SOTA back in April because I wanted to get on a diet plan that did not involve pills, medications, or shots. What I wanted to do was something based on nutrition. And maybe I could have read a book about this, and maybe I could have just followed some other guideline. But what I did was I hooked up with SOTA because they hooked me up with a nutritionist. And she was great. And she called me quite regularly and even had me photograph myself standing on a scale so that I could show her what I was doing. And that was the motivation I needed to lose the weight that I needed to lose. And it worked well for me. I got down to the weight I wanted within 7 weeks. Seriously, 7 weeks. It worked for me, and it'll work for you. SOTA diet is something I'm going to stay with the rest of my life. And it is, say it with me, state of the art.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Progressive's Home Quote Explorer helps you easily find and buy the right coverage for you. It's everything you've always wanted. Well, I mean, as far as a website that lets you shop, quote, and buy insurance in one place. But hey, maybe that is everything you've always wanted. Yeah, people have different types of dreams. And if all you've ever been searching for is a website that helps you choose home insurance rates and coverage, boy, do we have great news about Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Something big is coming to South Salt Lake. Join Go Pave Utah on Friday, August 7th from 11 to 1 for our free block party featuring food, drinks, snow cones, virtual golf, and to unveil a giant mural by artist Marcus Medina. Over 200 feet, transforming Go Pave's headquarters into an art landmark. Join Go Pave School Supply Drop-Off, benefiting children at Guadalupe schools, and a separate partnership with Make-A-Wish Utah. August 7th at 2575 South, 900 West in South Salt Lake. Go Pave Utah, building community, one project at a time.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
The ridgeline is imposing the escarpments, the drops.
A place where survival, it's dark now, I have nothing, is never certain. In 2011, an Australian hiker vanished.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
The mountains have decided to keep him.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
This is Jim Bennett in for Holly Richardson. And who hasn't felt overworked before? Our own Greg Skordas is here. He works like a dog day and night. I said at the end of the last segment, we're going to talk to our in-house legal expert, and that is Greg Skordas, who is juggling a whole lot of things as he continues as a practicing attorney. And one Utah judge says his plate has been overloaded for far too long, and now he's stepping away from the bench.
Yeah, and this is a judge from the 4th District Court, Casey Wright, a very good judge down there. He left a private practice, probably a lucrative private practice, became a judge. He's only been on the bench for a couple of years, but he sent a letter to the presiding Supreme Court justice saying, I'm done. And what he said in the letter is, there's too much work here. Judges are overworked. It's not sustainable. And I simply can't do this and do a good job. KSL TV's Daniel Woodruff did a story on this, and here's part of that.
This judge says he has enjoyed serving on the bench, that it's been an honor to do so, but that the demands have simply become too much, and he says that should be concerning to everyone.
In his resignation letter obtained by KSL, 4th District Judge Casey Wright says judges have to do a lot to ensure justice is served. The problem, he writes, is that it takes time to properly perform each of these tasks, and it is time that too many judges are lacking. Wright, who's based in Provo, says judges are working 50 to 60 hours a week to get everything done, sacrificing personal time and family life in the process. This is not sustainable, he says. Judges will burn out quickly, and the quality of judicial applicants will decline.
I take his concerns at face value.
But State Senator Todd Weiler, who oversees the confirmation of judges, points out the legislature just approved 3 new judges at the district court level, along with 2 at the Court of Appeals and, more controversially, 2 at the Utah Supreme Court.
We literally did more to address the needs of overcrowding of the courts last session than we've done in the prior 2 decades.
Still, he says legislative leaders are reading Wright's resignation letter, which he believes will have an impact.
I think it might, and I actually hope it might, because I think the letter's a sincere, attempt to identify a problem.
Nancy Sylvester, former attorney for the courts and the state bar, agrees that judges are overworked.
If an attorney or a judge is working regularly 60 hours a week, that's just a recipe for burnout.
Judge Wright will serve on the bench until the end of this year. Then his resignation will become effective. It's up to the governor to appoint a replacement.
And I do appreciate Senator Weiler weighing in on that, and for a couple reasons. One is he's a senator, and he's involved in the sort of getting more judges appointed. But he's also an attorney who practices a lot in court, and I think that's helpful to get that perspective. I would say this, and Casey Wright's been a very good judge. He'll be missed. But 50, 60 hours a week is what you sign up for. I mean, I'm sorry. And it is tough on your family, and it is tough on your relationships, and it is tough on what you do. But when I worked at the DA's office, there's a reason we weren't paid by the hour. We were paid a salary. And our DA said, if you're getting ready for a trial and you need to come in on the weekends and you need to work late at night, that's what you need to do, because you need to do your job. And when you go into private practice, which is what I did after I left the DA's office, it got worse. I mean, you're an attorney 24/7. I mean, I was helping some police this morning at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? I mean, you get calls, you get called out, you have questions, and you do what you need to do. So I don't know why this judge is doing this now, because I would have thought, as a practicing attorney, he would have had an idea that this is what it was going to be like. I would say this in his defense: the 4th District, which is Utah, Juab, and Wasatch counties, have huge calendars. I mean, it's not uncommon when you go down to Provo and you've got court and your case is number 87. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh.
Or 112. I mean, it's like, okay, court starts at 1 and I'm number 90. Am I going to be out of here by 5? Sometimes not. But it's kind of what you sign up for. And I really think it's what judges are. They kind of know that going in, and you make a lot more money in private practice because you're getting paid by the hour, at least billing your clients by the hour. But judges sacrifice that, but I think they know that going in. So a little disappointing, but he is a good judge and he'll be missed. He's sticking around till the end of December. I look at this. I mean, there's a judge in Salt Lake County who got involved in the redistricting mess, and her name doesn't matter, but she wrote this opinion that was like 80 pages long on the whole redistricting, and she got in all kinds of heat with the legislature and everything. She didn't spend 40 hours a week getting ready for that. I mean, she must have spent 100 hours. You know what I mean? I mean, and it was a brilliant piece of legal work, but it's something she just felt like she had to do. And I admire her so much for doing that, because I think some judges would have said, I don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Or maybe had, AI write it or have a clerk write it. I don't think judges would do that. But, I mean, if you want to be a good judge, look at the judge on the Tyler Robinson case. I mean, new judge, former prosecutor, he knows what it's like. He spent a lot of time on that case. Every time he goes to court, he is prepared. He knows what's going on. He's actually got a script written half the time that he kind of goes to. But you look at judges and you think, okay, this is a judge who likes what they do, appreciates what they do. But to this judge's point, it is difficult and it's hard on your personal life. I mean, but it's kind of what you sign up for, unfortunately.
Well, and I think a lot of people know that going in. This isn't a new problem. I'm not in the legal profession, but I've heard this is the Supreme Court justices complaining about the fact that they're not paid enough, or that it takes too much time. This is something that I think is endemic to pretty much any professional
Right. Look at your father, Bob Bennett, senator. He didn't spend 40 hours a week doing that job. He spent 70 hours. You know what I mean? He was working it constantly. And I didn't even know him very well, but that man, and I don't know that he worked more or less than most senators, probably more than most, but he was a 50, 60 hour a week government employee. I have no doubt in my mind. You probably suffered for that because you were his kid.
Well, it was wonderful because he would always take my calls.
Yeah.
It made me feel like a big shot that I could get a hold of a senator whenever I wanted to. But yeah, when you sign up for those sorts of things and you sign up for those sorts of responsibilities, I think you know what's going on going in. But at the same time, if this judge has decided that he wants to take a different route with his life, I think that's entirely his right to do that.
Yeah, and it was an interesting letter. He talks about it's not sustainable, and this is a problem, and maybe it's a shot across the bow to the legislature that we need more judges. Of course, Todd Weiler, the senator that we heard from in Daniel Woodruff's report, said we did add several judges. We added 2 to the Supreme Court. So it goes from 5 to 7. We added 2 to the Court of Appeals, which I think makes it go from 9 to 11. And we added several in that very district where Casey Wright is. So had he stuck around for a couple months, he'd have had a break from a couple judges. But some judges are really busy. Some judges are not as busy. But I would even say this. If you go to a rural county, they're really busy down there too, because sometimes you've got a judge who's in Juab County, or that's a bad example because that's 4th District, Paiute County, and then Wayne County, and then, Carbon County, whatever. I'm just making some up. But, you're riding the circuit. You're in a different county. You're in a different court every day. So when you only have court once a week, sometimes it's a big calendar. When you only have court twice a week, sometimes it's a huge calendar. When you're in Utah County, you have court every day. It's a big calendar virtually every day. The judges have a hard time because you want to be ready for your calendar. You don't just show up in court and say, okay, let's call the first case. Tell me what I'm doing. You want to read them all beforehand and prepare. That's what gets judges, a little bit of burnout is the time you need to spend preparing. But I find most judges do that, and I'm sorry that we lose a very good judge in the 4th District. But, I mean, if that's the way he feels like he has to go, I completely understand. It is government service, especially in something like that. If you want to do it right and you want to do it well, it's going to be more than a 40-hour-a-week job.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. Judge Skordas isn't somewhere in the future there?
No.
All right.
I've been a Democrat for too long. Not going to get appointed.
All right. Well, coming up in the next hour of Inside Sources, we're going to shift to the weather. And unfortunately, a Utah child died yesterday after being left in a hot car. Between the heat and flash floods, there's a lot to talk about. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Starting this hour, funeral services are taking place for a family of 5 killed in a flash flood in southern Utah earlier this month. Provo Fire Captain Spencer Long, his wife Katrina, their sons Gage and Thane, and their stepson Reed Vernon were all killed 2 weeks ago. Family friend Megan Dexter tells KSL they loved being outdoors together.
They loved to be out in the mountains, out in the canyons. So knowing that all of this happened in a canyon just kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
The funeral at the UCCU Center at Utah Valley University is open to the public. The 5 will then be buried in Mona in a private service. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Tensions were high at a Senate Homeland Security Committee hearing where Dr. Anthony Fauci was subpoenaed to testify. Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment and didn't answer many questions, and his attorney was thrown out when he tried to speak up.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear what the attorney has to say.
He is not recognized by the committee or the chair. If he speaks again, he will be removed from the room.
Senator Rand Paul is conducting the hearing, and Fauci gave an opening statement saying the only reason that the hearing is happening is because he believes Paul is trying to get Fauci behind bars. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 877 points. That's almost 2 full percent to 51,869. The S&P down 72 points to 7356, and the Nasdaq down 325 points to 24,551. Coming up, we're looking at highs in the upper 90s today. Then we jump into triple digits going forward. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 25% upfront bonus? And are they promising you up to 9% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. And if you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They aren't. That's up to $25,000 upfront or up to $9,000 per year on $100,000, guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states has Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future. Some things in Utah just keep growing stronger with time. What began as a family farm in West Layton, land worked by generations of the Stevenson family, grew into J&J Produce in 1970, serving the community from a simple covered Army barracks. Today, J&J Garden Center is Utah's largest producing nursery, with over 100 acres of locally grown trees, plants, flowers, and garden favorites. Through decades of growth, one thing has never changed: their commitment to quality, knowledge, and treating customers like family. Visit J&J Garden Center in Layton and discover why generations of Utah gardeners continue to grow with J&J. J&J Garden Center, rooted in Utah, growing for generations. Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared? I don't know.
Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Here's Cormac Bone.
Northbound I-15 delays still working their way out after that crash that we had near the I-80-201 interchange, but that's where they start. Slow there near 21st South, reaches up to 13th South, so just a little bit of delay there. Also slow on North 15 approaching Bangerter Highway coming down from the point of the mountain. Eastbound I-80, that right lane pretty regularly full at the US 40 turnoff, and there was a crash southbound I-215 just before I-80 near the airport. They have cleared off the road. Seeing cracked, curling, or missing shingles on your roof? Don't wait. Save big during S&S Roofing's huge summer sale. From a small repair to a full replacement, SNSRoofingUtah.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we should hit 97 today with a chance of rain this afternoon. But then we hit a stretch of 4 straight days in triple digits, with Saturday being the hottest. At the forecast, 106. Right now it is 85 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, as I indicated, I'm alongside Jim Bennett today, but the Senate hearing for Dr. Anthony Fauci just wrapped up about a half an hour ago, and Jim, it went for 3.5 hours, and in the end, Fauci pled the Fifth Amendment, people said 111 times.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk to someone who's been following the hearing this morning. Joining us now is Rich McHugh, investigative correspondent for News Nation.
Rich, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask this. Were there any questions that Fauci did answer? For example, you don't have a Fifth Amendment right to your name or where you live, that kind of thing. But did it start out with some dialogue, or did he go to the Fifth quite quickly?
He went to the Fifth pretty quickly. He did read an opening statement to the effect where he says, look, he's answered questions under oath multiple times. He accused Senator Paul of an obsessive campaign of slander, public calls for his prosecution, releasing his personal diary. So he said all that at the beginning, but he said, look, this hearing's sole purpose is to trap me into saying something that could justify imprisonment. And on the advice of his attorneys, he's therefore invoked his Fifth Amendment right, and he did it, I believe, 111 times thereafter.
And speaking of his attorneys, at least one of them was removed from the proceedings because he kept talking even after the senators asked him to quit talking. And what was there something about that was unusual, or that he was not supposed to be sitting at the table with his client, or was he just interrupting the proceedings too much?
That was my analysis of it. Senator Rand Paul said, look, you do not have the floor. I forget the word he said. You do not have the right to speak. We're here. It's Anthony Fauci is the one who was subpoenaed. And, he appears to have been told earlier in the morning that he's not allowed to sit there. He's not going to be given the mic to speak. And that when Anthony Fauci kind of invoked his fifth right, then the attorney wanted to speak. And Rand Paul basically said, no. This isn't how it works. Your client has invoked their Fifth Amendment right. You don't get to then justify why he's saying his Fifth Amendment rights. You do not have the mic today. This is about your client.
Yeah, I think what he kept saying.
And so he kept pressing, and they removed him.
Yeah, he kept saying, we don't recognize you, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The hearing lasted for 3.5 hours, and it was very clear very early on that it was just going to be Fifth Amendment after Fifth Amendment. What were they trying to accomplish, or why did the hearing go on so long if it was a foregone conclusion as to how it was going to turn out?
Well, this is speculation, I guess, on my part, but Rand Paul has been after Anthony Fauci since 2020. He's basically said you've promoted a natural origin theory for the virus while privately aware of substantial evidence pointing to a lab leak, and yet you said the opposite publicly. He also is trying to say, he accused him of supporting and funding dangerous gain-of-function research at the lab, which, many believe was ultimately the reason COVID came into being. And so I think Rand Paul is trying to set the stage for some further charges to come from this. He's been laser focused on this. And because of the pardon, there's some question, and I'm not a legal expert by any means or a constitutional expert, but there's some there's some question as to the extent the pardon allows him the right to plead the fifth, and where kind of on the fringes of this is Fauci potentially exposed? Essentially, meaning can they quote unquote get him for veering outside of some lane, on some technicality. And that is completely unclear to me, but it seems like that was the beginning of the effort here.
Yeah, and it does seem like if you want to have a hearing and say that he was in contempt of Congress for not answering questions, that you need to ask the questions. And so you have to ask him 111 times a question and to have him invoke 111 times. So I'm just answering my co-host question.
They're
here.
getting more fodder.
Right, yeah, so that you can say, well, he didn't answer the question. So how did it end? I mean, do you think that Paul got all his questions in and realized there wasn't anything more for Fauci to disclose or invoke the Fifth Amendment?
They got all their questions in. Then there was, statements by some of the senators, Bernie Moreno, basically saying, who the blank do you think you are to make these decisions on behalf of the American public? It was more of it seemed like more of a shaming session where Fauci had to sit and listen to this. But then Fauci left, didn't take any questions. Senator Rand Paul took questions in the hall and basically said our work is not done here, which speaks to the fact that they're going to continue to try and get him. He was saying we were hoping for an apology. We were hoping for kind of an ethical kind of conversation today. And that obviously did not happen. I spoke to people before this, people who've been trying to get, answers on this. Gary Ruskin, he's like the executive editor of the U.S. Right to Know. He's been, and he's not a right winger. I'm not sure he has an independent health agency. Let's put it this way. But he's filed hundreds of FOIAs to try and get to the bottom of what happened with COVID. And he says, look, this is the most obfuscation I've ever seen in my life, misdirection by a federal agency. What Fauci and the NIH did. And so there's a lot of people that want answers and want to see him answer this, both right and left. And I don't know. I don't think today did anything to satisfy really either side. On the one hand, you got the senators basically saying things to Fauci, and he had to force himself to just sit and just take it. Whereas in previous media interviews, he could defer or deflect. Here, that wasn't the case, and so maybe there was some modicum of kind of satisfaction on their behalf.
So this isn't over by a long shot, is it?
Not to my knowledge. It sounds like they're going to continue going. If there was a playbook, in hand today, we're obviously not privy to it, and it seemed that Senator Rand Paul was not fazed in the least when Anthony Fauci pleaded the Fifth right from the get-go. There was no frustration. He expected it, and so I think this remains to be seen. I don't think we've seen the last of this by a long shot.
Rich, last question. We've got about 40 seconds, but why are they even doing this? Why 6 years after the fact?
Well, I think a lot of Americans feel that they weren't told the truth about it. That's my personal belief on it. Experts I've talked to, and so they want to get to the bottom of what actually transpired. We don't know. Maybe we'll never know, but we don't know. Essentially, fact-based, what caused COVID? Was it a lab? That's what our agencies are leaning towards, but we don't have the proof.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. That was Rich McHugh, investigative correspondent for News Nation. And we may never have the proof, but I guess he's right. He makes a good point there that the people have a right to know what our leaders knew at the time and if they were keeping us apprised of everything. Well, when we come back, this next story is really sad. You teased it a minute ago. A child in Vernal has died after being left in a hot car for more than 2 hours. I want to talk about this case in particular. We'll chat with a child and car safety expert about simple ways to keep your kids safe in the heat this summer after this.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
This is Andy Farnsworth with One Kind Act a Day's Minute of Kindness, brought to you by the Semnani Family Foundation. There is a nonprofit called Savvy Stuffies that helps keep hospitals stocked with comfort bears for their patients to help make people smile. The nonprofit is named after Savannah Mack. When Savannah fell and had to go to the hospital, she wanted her teddy bear. To make do, the hospital staff blew up one of their medical gloves and drew a face on it to give her to cuddle with. Now, thanks to Savannah Mack, 100 stuffed animals were donated to Mountain Star Healthcare's Ogden Regional Medical Center and 800 more to different hospitals. How can you write, send, or share a positive message to someone you love? Find out more at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and I've been a fan of Hale Center Theater from the very beginning. But there is something about this season that is just off the charts. Maybe it's due to the 3 stages now, which accommodate an amazing variety. Take, for example, showing right now on the Beehive stage, Thornton Wilder's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel and Tony Award-winning play is an absolute must-see. It's Our Town. This is a touching story focusing on 2 families in a small town, the sorrows, the joys, the reflections of lives well lived. And then, coming up, we've got Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. The music, the staging, the pure fun of it makes Joseph an all-time favorite. And in mid-August, it's Moriarty. This is the time for you to lock down your tickets for all of the wonderful productions at Hale Center Theater. And all you have to do is go to hct.org.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources.
Well, this is a really tragic story, but it's so disappointing on so many levels. But this morning we learned that a child in Vernal has died after being left in a hot car for several hours. The father who supposedly left the child in the car has now been arrested for investigation of child abuse homicide.
Oh, these kinds of stories just always break my heart. It breaks my heart for the child, of course, but for the whole family. And I look at this. I was just telling the story when our youngest was a baby. My wife and I went out to dinner, and we took our baby with us. And then when we got home, I took the babysitter home, but I took a different car, assuming that my wife was going to take the baby out of the car. And we woke up the next morning, and we said, wow, he slept through the night. And then it just dawned on us that we left him in the car. Now, it was a cool night. He was just fine. But when I said, boy, it's just way too easy to make a really stupid mistake. And it's, that doesn't excuse anything, and it probably gets me into trouble a little bit here, but I just look at this and go, but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah. Well, this is a situation that occurred yesterday. A child abuse homicide has been alleged against this man in Vernal, Tommy Dean Platero. He's not been charged yet that I'm aware of. They claim that he left his residence in Vernal, was intending on taking his child to a daycare, but he forgot to take the child to daycare. Instead, he took the child who was in a car seat to an area in North Vernal, and the child was not able to get out of the car seat. Daddy went in the building there and was in there for, it looks like, about 2.5 hours. Took the kid, stopped the kid in the car at 12:51, went back out to the car at 15:30, so almost 3 hours later, and noticed the child was still in the car. The windows were up, the doors were locked, the vehicle was not running, and Daddy went in the place there for several hours, came back out, saw that the child was not blinking, breathing, foam in the child's mouth, drove the child to the Uinta Basin Hospital Emergency Department, where the child was pronounced dead.
Oh, that's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and so the county attorney's office, or at least the law enforcement officers there, have filed an affidavit of probable cause. Again, he hasn't been charged yet. They're saying that he was at least reckless in this conduct. The child was in a car with no motor running for 150 minutes. Windows were up. The temperature outside was 92 degrees. This is something else. The medical examiner, or the investigators rather, said that the internal temperature of the vehicle at the hospital was between 131 degrees and 151 degrees Fahrenheit. And the kid's been sent to the medical examiner to determine the cause of death. So there's been an allegation that the father committed the crime of child abuse homicide, which is a felony of the first degree. It carries a prison term, Jim, of from 5 years and potentially up to life.
Well, I'm not trying to say that isn't justified, but I think that this father is going to see that as a walk in the park compared to the guilt and the misery that he's feeling now from he's lost his child.
Yeah, and so these are hard cases, and I prosecuted cases where loved ones are killed by a caretaker, a parent who backs over their child in the driveway, who leaves their kid in a car seat when it's 92 degrees, who leaves a loaded firearm near the child where they can access it, who doesn't put a child in a seatbelt. The drunk driver who kills their spouse. And you look at these cases and you say, okay, what can we do as a society to prosecute this person that would even possibly be worse than the punishment they're already suffering? I mean, this father lost a child. The age of the child isn't indicated here, but whatever. He's a child in a car seat and can't free himself, so he's probably pretty young. But, what does the criminal justice system do to somebody like that? Because the punishment's already been served. But you still have to, there's still the sort of what we call the general deterrence, which is to deter others from doing the same thing. So you do have to punish a case like this.
Well, I think that's probably right. I think it's the deterrence value, and because I can't imagine that there was any part of this that was intentional, but at the same time, I would think that the deterrence of knowing what kind of punishments await people who are, it's just, I think that would serve as a reminder, as something helpful, that you just have to be extra vigilant with your children. You just don't have a choice. And, nobody gives you a manual how to be a parent.
Right.
And people sort of stumble into this, and you make all kinds of mistakes when you're a parent, and you just have to make sure that there are certain lines you cannot cross. You have to be mindful of your children's safety.
And you mentioned the word intent. There certainly was no intent, and otherwise this would be a murder case. It's a reckless homicide the way it's charged. And so a judge or jury, if let's say that this man fights the case and says, no, it was just an accident, the question would become, is it reckless to leave a child in a car when it's 92 degrees? I mean, certainly if you're like, hey, I'll just be a minute, the kid's in the back seat, do you forget that the child's in the car? Now, I would have thought until you spoke 5 minutes ago. How do you forget your kids in the car? I mean, how is that even possible?
Well, see,
but it is possible.
Well,
of course it is.
We both thought, in our instance, we both thought we were being responsible. I thought, I'm going to take the babysitter home in a different car so that my wife can take the baby in. And she just, that did not even occur to her. We didn't have that kind of communication.
Yeah.
But you know, the intent there was entirely, I was mindful of him, but I made a mistake. And it's, you know, we joke about it and we laugh about it. And the kid now is 20 years old, and he's heard the story a million times, and he just chuckles about it. But it could have gone. It could have gone if it had been a hot summer evening.
Yeah.
If it had been anything like it is
like
right
the
now.
record high-low that we had the other night, 80 degrees.
I just look at this, and I'm not trying to excuse it in any way, shape, or form. I just recognize that this is a mistake that I could see myself making.
You know, and I have a car right now that has what they call a dog feature, which really is a child safety feature. But it allows that you can be out of the car and the air conditioner will continue to run. It's an electric car, so you can actually program it. Now, I'm not saying you should do this. They don't call it child feature. They call it a dog feature.
Yeah.
So that you leave the dog in the car, you can say, okay, I'll be an hour or two, but I'm going to leave the air conditioner running because it's an electric car, and it would presumably be safe. But, I mean, we've never done it. We've never used it because it just doesn't seem right. Plus, you know, somebody who's walking.
You can turn it on remotely?
Yes. You could leave it. Yeah, you can turn it on and say, okay, I'm going to put, it's called dog feature, which is basically I'm going to shut the car, we're going to walk away, but the internal temperature of the car will say at whatever temperature you want it to be, 70, whatever, 65, whatever. It'll just run the air conditioner and do that. It's a great feature, and it's probably saved some children's lives, but it's not there to save children's lives. And like they say, they call it dog.
Right. Well, yeah, you don't want to even give the indication that this is an option.
Yeah, and you know, what if you walk by a car, you hear about stories like this. People walk by a car and they see a kid in the back seat, and you're at a shopping center, and you're going in, and you see a kid in the back seat, and there's no mom and dad, and it's 90 degrees. What do? Do you bust the window? Do you try to open the door? Do you say, it's not my business? You know what I mean? And people have that, even with dogs, you see people that, you know, think they need to save a life and they do something. I don't know. What would you do if you came to a grocery store and you saw some kid in the back seat of a car that was locked?
Yeah, I don't know what I would do. I think I would want to break the window. As a lawyer, what would happen if I break a window and what
Probably
is that?
Nothing. If you're doing something to save a life,
I'm trying to save a life.
If you're legitimately thinking you're saving a life, I mean, if the motor's running and you can see the wind blowing in the kid's hair, maybe that's a little different. Although, you know, if you don't do anything, you can't be charged criminally, but that would be worse.
Yeah.
If you didn't do something and you learned later that the child died 20 minutes after you were there, you'd feel like heck, you know. So I'm not saying break the window, but I'd call the police. I'd do anything I could to try to get that situation dealt with as soon as possible. And if it's 95 degrees, maybe just break the window.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are the kinds of stories that just break your heart. There is no silver lining in any of it.
Yeah, well, when we come back after the break, let's talk to a child safety expert. Get some simple tips on keeping your kids safe in the car over the summer season. That's going to be on Inside Sources when we come back in just a minute.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A group of people in parts of Millard and Beaver counties were told to evacuate overnight, one area because of fire and another because of flooding.
The order went out last night on the Millard County Facebook page. People living in Kanosh around the areas of Turkey Track Lane and Cemetery Road were told at 11:30 p.m. they had to leave immediately because of the Widemouth fire. The rest of Kanosh is either in set status or ready, in both cases told to keep an eye on alerts. Additional help to fight the fire is arriving on site today. In Beaver County, people living in Grove within a quarter mile of the river left the area as debris flowed downstream from the Cottonwood burn scar. As of this morning, it seems the alert is no longer active. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. U.S. forces across the Middle East are on high alert after an attack overnight by Iran, breaking from a days-long pause in the fighting.
Jordan's military confirming they shot down 5 missiles, the move marking a stark escalation in the war. The president had decided to hold off on a massive strike, hoping to revive negotiations. Trump last night once again insisting that Iran wants to make a deal. But Iran has publicly shown no interest in that, and the war already showing signs of expanding throughout the region. Saudi Arabia under fire from Iranian-backed groups in the region, shooting down drones in the eastern part of the country.
ABC's Rachel Scott reporting from the White House. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 834 points to 51,913. The S&P down 63 to 7364. And the NASDAQ is down 255 points, a full percent, to 24,621. Coming up, we got one more day before the heat really cranks up. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
You've waited all year for this moment. Make sure you're prepared when you finally draw back. At Shields, we're right there with you. We have the expertise and premium gear hunters need to gain the edge. Right now, till August 2nd, our hunting sale event is on with savings on the best gear. And if you're a Shields Visa card member, you'll earn extra points on every Shields purchase. Gain the edge you're looking for and save this season at Shields.
I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home, and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first, but if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. pigeonship.com.
Hi, how can I help?
Well, my husband and I feel like we've outgrown our current money manager.
I see.
Our lives have changed, and we need something more than just mutual funds to help us in retirement.
She's right.
I hear that often. At Fisher Investments, we'd start by getting to know you, your finances, family, health, lifestyle. We tailor a portfolio around your goals and needs.
Sounds good.
Can you help with estate planning?
Yes. We have a team of specialists who can help you with estate planning, Social Security, investment income, and more. We'll get to know your whole financial picture and help keep you on the path to a comfortable retirement.
And your fees?
We have a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
I feel better already.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
I-15 delays clearing out really nicely for the midday drive. We do still have a disabled vehicle, though, on southbound I-15 getting out of Linden, approaching 1600 north. They're in that left shoulder, affecting the HOV lane just a little bit there, so do be careful as you get around them. Otherwise, regular delays to expect. Eastbound 2100 north in Lehigh, seeing the regular scattered slowdowns from Redwood Road over to I-15. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. There's another chance for pop-up thunderstorms today, but that moisture goes away tomorrow, and then the thermostat goes up. We go from 97 for a high today to 101 tomorrow, and all the way up to 106 on Saturday.
Right now it's 86 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And this is Jim Bennett in for Holly Richardson. We're continuing to follow this really sad story out of Uinta County where a child was found deceased in a hot car. Now the child's father is in police custody, arrested for investigation of child abuse homicide.
Yeah, and if you recall, we just talked in the last segment about this story. We want to talk more broadly about what parents need to know to keep their kids safe in a hot car. It feels like it's pretty obvious not to leave your kid in a car, but for some reason it happens every year.
Well, yeah, it's just not quite that cut and dry, and so.
Well, let's bring our guest in. We have Amber Rollins, Director of Kids and Car Safety. Amber, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us your initial reaction, and I can only guess what it must be, when you hear a story like this, because it happens every summer, it seems like, where a kid is left in a car, and the consequences are about as bad as you can imagine.
As a mother, my heart sinks, and I'm just completely devastated for this family. Losing a child is, the most difficult thing anybody could ever have to overcome. And, what makes this even worse is most of the time it's the parent who was the one responsible, although accidentally. As a safety advocate, just so frustrating hearing tragedy after tragedy. A child dies in a hot car in the United States every 9 days. These are preventable tragedies,
Well, so as the expert on this, and I'm sure you've dealt with so many heartbreaking stories here, what kind of practical advice do you have that can prevent this sort of thing from happening? Just beyond,
well, I think,
don't leave your kid in the car.
Yeah, that's the obvious one, right? And there's a very small percentage of these fatalities that happen when a child was knowingly left. It's only about 15%. So that's kind of the exception. The overwhelming majority of these tragedies happen to otherwise loving, responsible parents who, under the right circumstances aligning, lost awareness of that child in the back seat. And this is one of those things that is just impossible to comprehend, especially as a parent who loves your children. You think about them all day. How could you forget them? So I think first and foremost, anybody listening, the most important thing you can do to prevent this from happening is to take the time to understand how it happens. And, we have science behind this. There's two different competing memory systems in our brain. One of them is our hippocampus. It controls, a conscious thought kind of memory, like I'm going to stop to get milk on the way home, or I'm going to drop the baby off at daycare on the way to work. That's the hippocampus. Then we have our basal ganglia, and that controls our habit memories. And this part of our brain is more of a, simplistic, less sophisticated, reptilian almost part of our brain that functions automatically. And it is not able to account for changes in a habit or a routine that we've performed over and over. So your habit memory or your basal ganglia tends to kick in when you're extremely sleep deprived, fatigued. You've got 1,000 things going on, which all of these are par for the course for parents with young children. And what happens is you've got a parent who has, been lacking sleep, likely for quite a while, and it's building up. You've got a morning routine that has some type of change in that normal morning routine. It could be something as simple as switching the order that you drop your children off. And when you start performing that habit of getting in the car and leaving for work, your basal ganglia kicks in and takes over. Those two memory systems are constantly competing for which one is going to be in charge and, functioning. And so when basal ganglia takes over, you've started performing this habit memory. You get in the car, you drive to the end of your street. You're supposed to turn right to go to daycare, but instead you turn left to go straight to work because that's your normal routine. Basal ganglia can't account for that change in routine. And that's how an otherwise, completely responsible, attentive parent can actually lose awareness of that baby in the back seat. Most of the time they're rear facing, so you can't see them. They've fallen asleep because that's what babies do in the car. And, when all of those circumstances align, it can happen to literally anybody.
And Amber, is that what you find in terms of how a lot of these happen, that it really is the parent who is just, I mean, you went into the detail and big words that I can't use, but I mean, like the parent who's like, I just went to work, I drove right by the daycare, I had no idea. I mean, it does seem like, I mean, parents don't go out to hurt a child. That just rarely happens.
Right.
But it is that, 1 in a million chance that something like this happens, and that parent, like you said earlier, has already suffered enough, more almost incomprehensibly suffered, but the system still needs to do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, we still feel like there has to be some accountability.
We feel pretty strongly that when in every incident where a child's harmed should be thoroughly investigated, right? Like, no questions asked about that. But when it is determined that it was truly accidental and that parent had no idea that that child was in the car, criminalizing this actually works against prevention. Because people watching the news, it is interesting, right? So, you're watching the news, you see this parent's mugshot come up on the TV, and you think, my gosh, that's so sad. They must be a really bad parent. They must have been on drugs. They must have been super neglectful. And truly, in these cases, nothing could be further from the truth. This is similar to like a child sneaking out of the house and drowning in the swimming pool in the backyard. It's something the parent literally had no idea was happening. In fact, a lot of times the parent will get in the car and go to daycare and walk into the daycare to pick their child up. And they don't believe them when they say that their child's not there. They truly believe that that child is safe and sound. And had they known any different, they would have given their own life to stop that from happening.
So would you like to see the criminal penalties for these sorts of things done away with? How would you handle this from a legal perspective?
Absolutely. What these parents need is healing and support and involvement, not punishment. Trust me, they will punish themselves every single second of every day for the rest of their life. And no jail sentence, no probation, none of that can even compare to the grief and the shame that they will feel for the rest of their lives.
That is a really interesting perspective, and one that I didn't expect, Amber, but I appreciate those comments. I mean, I'm involved in the criminal justice system myself as a former prosecutor and defense attorney, and when you phrase it that way, it makes a lot of sense. So thank you for joining us this morning. That was very, very helpful. That was Amber Rollins, Director of Kids and Car Safety, joining us this morning. Interesting point. Criminalizing, punishing the parent. I mean, I mentioned earlier the idea of general deterrence. That means making sure that the rest of the public doesn't know that you can get away with this. And so the system still needs to do something. That's one of the purposes of the criminal justice system. There's also specific deterrence, deter the specific person from doing this. But in this case, mom and dad had no idea, so that's not going to work. But criminalizing it may actually be the wrong way to go.
Well, deterrence doesn't talk to the basal ganglia.
Yeah, right.
Well, while we here in the United States are continuing to deal with hot temperatures, Europe is also seeing a lot of hot weather. And after the break, we're going to talk about why the heat wave in Europe has been so deadly. And if you're planning a last-minute summer trip to Europe, what should you expect with the heat? Stay with us.
Last April, I decided I needed to do something about my weight. And when I turned 60, which was quite a while ago, I started gaining weight. It became 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds. And I thought, I can't not get to 30 pounds over my suggested weight. So I talked to some folks here at KSL and thought, what works for you? And I'd heard about Soda Diet Nutrition. Some of the people here worked it out, and they said, it's based on your diet. And I thought, well, I can do that. But it was helpful to have a nutritionist. It was helpful to have a coach, or somebody who could actually tell me what to do. So she contacted me every week, and she said, here's what you're going to do. Here's the diet you're going to be on. Here's the program you're going to be on. And here's what you're going to do. And I'm going to call you every week. In fact, I'm going to have you weigh yourself every Wednesday morning at the same time. And I want to see what that photograph looks like of your weight. Whew, that put some pressure on me, and it worked. It worked for me. I lost 4 pounds a week for 7 weeks. Seriously. Soda Diet Nutrition. Call 866-800-SODA, SOTA, and mention KSL News Radio for 4 free weeks. And remember, soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
There's nothing like getting outside, moving, and enjoying time with friends. Utah offers endless ways to get outdoors and stay active. Pickleball, hiking, biking, and more. Staying healthy is fun if you do it safely. Intermountain Health recommends taking time to stretch, warm up, stay hydrated, and pace yourself. These small steps keep activities safe and enjoyable for everyone. Because when you make health and safety part of every activity, you're taking care of what matters most: your life, your health.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services. And if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at LibertyMutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. The new Inside Sources.
It's hot here in Utah and around the rest of the United States, but at least some of us have air conditioning. I still don't.
I was going to ask you about
that. No, we're getting it repaired hopefully a little later today, but we're up at my mother's, so I do have air conditioning. And my dog is not being left in hot cars, and he's in a nice air-conditioned house. But if you look over at Europe, we've been to Europe as a family. I served my mission in Scotland, and air conditioning doesn't really exist over there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. By the way, this will be the week I'll remember you as the week you didn't have air conditioning. You didn't have power at some point. I don't know.
No, we still don't. Well, we have half power. It's a long, weird, messy story
You
that no one
can't
wants
run
to
an
hear.
air conditioner with a half power, but I
That's
feel
right.
sorry for you and your little puggle. Anyway, the lack of air conditioning is definitely contributing to heat wave overseas, and it's deadly compared to where we are. But Europe is really experiencing a much warmer than normal summer, and part of it is because of the climate change. Let's face it, has a lot to do with it. But they're also having, in addition to heat, they've got wildfires in Spain and France that are making the air quality awful. Imagine that, in addition to not having air conditioning, and what's happening over there. I mean, because people just assume it's Europe. They're so far ahead of the game, and northern climes, they don't really need air conditioning. They've been getting by for centuries without it. But the combination of what's going on there, it's got to be just awful.
Well, I was talking to our producer before the show started about his trip to Scotland. He was talking about wildfires in Scotland, and I thought, nothing burns in Scotland. When I was out knocking doors, I got rained on every day. Sometimes it would rain for 5 minutes. Sometimes it would rain all day. But this is a fairly recent new development over there. They just weren't. This was not part of the equation until very recently.
And we're learning that parts of France and Spain have caused hundreds of thousands of people to be evacuated. And I'm reading the article there, and it says the temperatures climbed over 40 degrees. That's Celsius. So
Celsius.
That's pretty warm. I mean, I'll have to do the math here in a minute, but 40 degrees is really hot.
Oh my goodness! When we were in Paris, it was hot. We were there in the summer, and we made the decision as to which restaurant we were going to eat at, based on which one was advertising that it had air conditioning.
Yeah.
And there was like 1 out of 20. We found one and we went, aha, air conditioning. And I think maybe they weren't being honest, because it was pretty dang hot in that restaurant.
It's interesting. We just take it for granted here in the States that we have air conditioning. And I remember spending a summer in, of all places, Houston, Texas. I taught at the National College of District Attorneys, and that's where they were housed. And so we would have our summer training for the new baby prosecutors around the country, and we stayed in the dorms at the University of Houston, and it was so hot and muggy outside. I'm getting to a point here. There really is a point to my story here, Jim.
That's
but
all right.
They were air conditioned, and when you walked inside, it was freezing. I mean, every building was freezing cold, because it was almost like they were trying to overcome from the heat. It was like you went from one to the other. Outside it's muggy and hot. Go inside, and the air conditioning was really colder than you would be comfortable. But that's what some people are just getting used to. And in Europe, you don't have that. You're hot all the time, it seems like, if you don't have air conditioning.
No, well, you weren't hot all the time because it never really got very hot.
Right.
Back in the day. And so this is, I wonder if we're going to see some sort of massive attempt to, when I was in Scotland, and again, we're talking about almost 40 years ago. I'm a very, very old man. Anyway, at least I feel like
Don't
one.
do that. Yeah.
Sorry. But I was astonished that they didn't have, I took baths. They didn't have showers.
Oh.
They just had, it was sort of a different setup. It wasn't that the technology didn't exist. It's just that's kind of what they were comfortable with.
Yeah, same with the air conditioning, apparently.
Yeah, and so I wonder if now there's going to be some sort of scramble to get air conditioning installed in places that had never even considered it before now.
Yeah, and if so, I mean, how do there are millions and millions of people there. I mean, that's going to be quite the infrastructure that you've got to build out, because you can't just plug in an air conditioner. I mean, you can, but they don't typically work as well as the ones that are built in and part of your system. But the El Nino, there have been a lot of other factors going on in Europe. Climate change is a real problem, but they always counted on, like we do here, at least being cool at night. But even in Utah, I think the 27th, 28th, we got down to 82 degrees.
Right.
Was the coldest we got in Salt Lake, which tied the record high low temperature in history, 82 degrees. I mean, if you're counting on being able to sleep well at night, I feel sorry for you. 82 degrees still doesn't make you much comfort if your air conditioning and your power's out.
No, so the other story that I'm thinking of, so I was the artistic director of the Tuacahn Center for the Arts in southern Utah.
Oh, really?
Where it was always hot.
Very hot.
And in the summer of 2000, we were doing The Music Man, and our lead actor, left 2 weeks before the end of the run. And they put me in as Harold Hill. I got to play the lead in The Music Man at Tuacahn. But the only time we had to rehearse was at night after the shows. And in St. George, it's so stiflingly hot that we would rehearse starting at about 11:30 at night, and it was still 90 degrees. It was just still absolutely miserable. And when there is absolutely no break from the heat, it's impossible to live with. Now, we had an air-conditioned house, and there were air-conditioned things all over the place. But I'm trying to imagine a circumstance where you're in a place where you don't think that air conditioning is going to be necessary, and all of a sudden you find yourself completely unprepared. How do you scramble? How do you catch up?
Right. That's interesting. You were, what was his name?
Harold Hill. Well, you got trouble, my friend.
Right here in River City.
Right here in River City.
And so I was thinking, well, can you sing? Well, of course you can sing. You're in the choir.
I am indeed.
You must be sing at a high level. Oh, that's interesting. I know we're digressing.
So,
but
sorry about that.
That was a fact I didn't know about you.
Well, speaking of air conditioning, the choir, because of all of the renovations going on in the Salt Lake Temple, they're going to have the big Salt Lake Temple open house next year. But usually in the summer, the choir moves from the tabernacle to the conference center because the conference center is easier to air condition.
Oh.
And I don't know what they're doing right now, but there's something being done for the conference center that we're not allowed to use it. So we're still in the tabernacle.
Which has less effective air conditioning.
At one point, I didn't think it had any air conditioning, but I sit up way in the back, and there are these little vents, and we can feel some cool air coming, but it gets pretty warm in there.
Do you stand much?
Oh, yeah. We have to stand when we sing.
Yeah, I was wondering. Because my mother was in a chorus, and it was a very large group, and sometimes they would lose a member. They'd stand too long, and pretty soon somebody plop over.
Well, that almost happened to me in Mexico City.
Yeah.
We went on tour. It was actually in Toluca, and we were singing in a beautiful Catholic cathedral that had absolutely no air conditioning in the heart of summer. And my head started to swim, and I went, I'm about to pass out.
Yeah.
And I had enough time to think about it, and I was standing on the back of these sort of rickety risers, and I said, okay, if I pass out, what happens if I fall backwards?
Yeah, that's a long ways down.
And so right in the middle of a song, I just sat down. In order, and it was, the choir is the best organized organization in the world, I think. And about 5 people started circling behind the risers, like, what's happened to Jim? Is he okay? What's going on?
Yeah.
But I felt it was the heat that had taken me out there. So,
one thing I would say about the heat right now to our listeners is this is the way that it's going to be now.
Yeah.
We are having a record hot summer until next year or the year after. I mean, we're not over it right now, and hopefully there will be some sort of advancement in I don't know, climate or technology or something where we can start getting a handle on this. But if anybody thinks that this is an abnormal year, these high temperatures, they are wrong. I mean, you look at the wildfires, you look at the temperatures, you look at the ocean temperatures, higher than they've ever been, hottest night we've ever had, record temperatures in Europe. Wait till next year.
This is the new normal. Yeah. Well, there's a community in mourning today honoring the family killed by flash floods in Wayne County. More on that coming up next on Inside Sources.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour. 2 areas have been evacuated in Millard and Beaver County, one because of fires and the other for flooding. Last night, Millard County Sheriff's Facebook page instructed people living in the area of Turkey Track Lane and Cemetery Road near Kenosha were told to evacuate around 11:30 p.m. as crews fought the wide mouth fire.
This fire is a serious concern, and we want you to all dial in here, pay attention to the alerts coming out through AlertSense and other social media.
Sheriff Steve Ocam says that more crews arrived today to help fight the fire. In Beaver County, people living in the Grove area were asked to leave as flooding from the Beaver River brought down debris from the Cottonwood burn scar. In other local news, people who are affected by nuclear testing and their relatives are eligible to receive $100,000. However, there's a fair amount of paperwork involved, and during the next week, you can get help. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Nuclear weapons testing resulted in blasts stronger than bombs dropped in World War II, according to the Deseret News. Now, those affected by the fallout or their surviving relatives can apply for a one-time $100,000 tax-free check from the federal government. Intermountain Health is hosting free meetings around the state, educating people on who is eligible and how to apply.
The first meeting will be held tomorrow in St. George. Applications are due December of 2027. Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've got red across the board. The Dow Jones is down 788 points. That's 1.5%. The S&P 500 is down 55 points. That's 0.75%. And the NASDAQ is down 212 points. That is 0.8%. Coming up, we might be eyeing another record this weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2026 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother, a pendant from years gone by. Pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. Drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet Arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's McKenna Rodriguez.
There was a crash on westbound US 6 at Spanish Fork Parkway. The right two lanes just opened back up, but still some residual delays reaching back to 3400 East. And for drivers headed toward the airport, the transition ramps from northbound I-215 to I-80 are closed for maintenance and construction. Your favorite trip snack, but make it spicy. New fiery cheese curds from the Creamery are here. Stop in or order online, and $1 from every bag will be donated to support wildfire relief efforts. McKenna Rodriguez in the KSL Traffic Center.
This week, we're looking at highs in the high 90s until Saturday, when it hits a high of potentially 106 degrees before it fortunately drops back down into the 90s. Right now, though, it's 88 degrees and windy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I'm joined again this morning by Jim Bennett. And Jim, this is a sad story again. We've had a couple of these this morning, but mourners are gathering this morning, actually even as we're speaking here, at Utah Valley University to honor and remember the Long family, 5 of whom were killed in a flash flood in Wayne County just, I think, about 2 weeks ago.
So this was a Provo fire captain. He was a local business owner, and several of their children. They were all caught in a flash flood outside of the town of Bicknell. One family member, the daughter of Katrina Long, was not with the rest of them at the time.
Yeah, and so the funeral service was held, I think, about 10 o'clock this morning. We didn't air it out of respect for the family, but I did want to talk about it. This is a situation that happened. I'm quite familiar with this area because we have property down in Torrey, which is just east of where this occurred. And if you can imagine, Wayne County is not the big area, but there's the bigger city in the area is Loa. That's Highway 24, runs east to west or west to east, depending on where you're going. And ultimately, it'll take you all the way up to Moab. But there's a town there called Bicknell, beautiful city. And outside of Bicknell, just east of it, there's a campground called the Sunglow Campground. And it's an area I'm familiar with because I can mountain bike from my place in Torrey and get down very close to that campground. It's an incredibly beautiful area. Lots of what they call box canyons, where you're literally up against these huge bluffs, these huge cliffs that you're kind of there, like almost like you're in skyscraper territory. And there was a flash flood that occurred. This family of 5 was hiking down there. A mother, who's a local business owner, the father who's a fire captain, 3 children, one of whom was a young adult. I think the other 2 looked like they were a little bit younger. They get caught in this flash flood, and all 5 of them passed away. I mean, can you imagine the rescue crew that went and started looking for that and found 5 people who had passed away?
Well, I don't know who has the fortitude to be on a rescue crew like that.
Yeah.
Having to deal with that kind of tragedy on a regular basis.
And we did talk about to some search and rescue people, not necessarily associated with that one, but it's a tough duty. I mean, even on our ski patrol that we do when we're looking for people, luckily I've never had to dig up somebody that was passed away, but we have avalanche situations where you're at least going in there and thinking, I wonder if somebody did happen to ski into this. And luckily for me, and knock on wood, I haven't had to do that. But this is a family that, if you can imagine, one of the most beautiful parts of the state, maybe of the country, and they're enjoying being with a family. They're enjoying the beautiful scenery there, and suddenly the rain comes, and it starts coming at a point where they must have realized at some point they were trapped or they were in trouble. Now, obviously no one's at fault here. This is just a tragic situation. But of course, you always try to go to a higher level. But maybe if you're dad and you don't want to just climb up the hill and watch the family go. So I imagine mom and dad were doing everything they can to get the kids up and try to get everybody safe. He was a fire captain, so he was on life-saving mode no matter what. But all 5 of them got caught up in this, and a flash flood just comes. It especially in those box canyons. You're nowhere. You've got nowhere to go. You're basically trapped.
And you don't really have much of a warning either. Do
No,
you? I mean, it's not like it's just sort of the water is piling up, It's a flash flood. It just comes, and you don't have any warning. You don't have any protection. This is the mother of. I'm looking at the Salt Lake Tribune article talking about this, and the mother of the husband says this is an unimaginable tragedy that has left a hole in her family that can never be filled. And that really is the only way to look at this sort of thing.
Yeah, and our national parks and state parks are so beautiful, but there's always peril. I mean, this last weekend, my wife Rebecca and I decided to get out of town and go up into the Uintas to a little reservoir called Smith Morehouse, I think it's called. And as we're driving up there are ambulances driving by us, literally driving by us both ways, coming in and coming out. And we see a gurney coming down the hill that my wife said, that's a body bag on the gurney. And so we asked the camp director what happened, and the young person was riding his four-wheeler and it tipped. Luckily, there wasn't a body in the body bag. That's where they had all their gear that they were. The young man ended up going to a hospital. He was in bad shape, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And I said, well, why do they use a body bag? But they just had so much equipment that was a perfect place to store it, except for those of us who were driving by and saw it. Like, what's up with that? But I mean, it happens all the time. And when we work on the patrol at Powder Mountain, and especially when I worked at Park City, because we had so many people, we'd have a helicopter landing virtually every day to help somebody get out that was hurt badly, very badly, such that they had to be life flighted out. Almost every day we'd have a helicopter land up there.
Wow. Well, I like to hike up by the Bell Canyon Reservoir. We live out in Sandy, and that's just it's like a half-hour hike. But if you go further, there's some beautiful waterfalls up there, and you reach a point where there is a sign that says, search and rescue will only come to this point.
Right, yeah.
If you go beyond this point, you're on your own.
Right.
And I've gone beyond that point a number of times, but I've just thought, I've since been told it's not that they won't come find you, it's that it will take a much longer for them to come find you.
Search and rescue will go
anywhere. They're not going to completely abandon you, but there's a warning sign that just says, all right, beyond this point, it gets a little more treacherous.
Yeah, right.
And you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, there's some areas up at what used to be the Canyon Ski Resort. It's now all Park City. But you climb over a hill and it's like not patrolled, not controlled. You enter at your own risk because this isn't part of our mountain, and you're just skiing down here, and people die there all the time. This family of five. If you saw the picture of them, it tears you up because they were just beautiful. And these kids were, at the top of their life, and they have beautiful mom and dad taking care of them, and hiking in a beautiful area. It just makes you appreciate the beauty of our country and of our state, but also the nature of it. When we're talking about, the heat, we're talking about wildfires, we're talking about flash floods, we're talking about everything that can happen, even just boating accidents. We've covered stories on that before. There's always a risk, but it's a risk that I think a lot of us understand and we take. I don't blame this family at all for going down there. That was a trip of a lifetime, but for some just act of nature that was probably almost completely unexpected, it would have ended up as a trip of a lifetime that they would have enjoyed and talked about forever.
Well, no, that's exactly right. And Utah, one of the big draws of Utah is we've got so many beautiful places and so much, and there isn't a place in the world anything like this state. And that's one of the reasons people love it here. It's one of the reasons people come here. But there are also dangers that are attached to that. We need to be mindful of those.
Yeah, and I don't want to discourage anybody from going into our parks and other places like that. Go boating, just enjoy it. Go skiing, go have fun. Chances are you'll be fine. But the community did gather for the Provo fire captain and his family, and just the firefighter community, as you could imagine, is huge. I'm sure there was a large procession. I'm sure there were a lot of people there, and I hope they're fondly remembered, and I hope this daughter, the survivor who wasn't with them at the time, can continue that legacy from what was clearly a very wonderful family. When we come back on Inside Sources, we're going to shift gears a little bit and look more at what's happening in Utah in respect to nuclear energy. We may become what they call a campus for nuclear energy here in Utah. We'll talk about what that means for our state when we come back.
What if you had the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi? and the price didn't change for 5 years. Guaranteed. Well, thanks to Xfinity, you don't have to worry about that part of your future now through August 24th. Get their best price on gig Wi-Fi this summer before it disappears. Just $50 a month for 5 years. And get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. You're guaranteed 5 years of super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats and finds and fixes issues before you even notice them. No annual contracts or commitments, no hidden fees, and the best equipment included. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Get it now at Xfinity.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds vary. Use of fiber coaxial cable. Learn more at Xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi. Xfinity. Imagine that.
Summertime and the saving is easy at Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George. Ladies, Dave's Bernina makes it easy for you to own a new Bernina quilting machine.
Big savings on embroidery and sewing machines. Come in and find out about the new products to be released in the upcoming weeks. Special pre-order pricing on the all-new Bernina 790 Ultra, 580 and 495 Liberty editions, and the Bernina 660 and 620 Surgers.
Come in now.
24 to 48 months, 0% interest on specific machine purchases. The Bernina 990, 770 Pro, and 570 are on sale, featuring free accessory bundles worth from $2,900 up to $4,600.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North, 550 West in Provo.
So have some creative fun this summer.
Dave'sBernina.com.
Great deals on trade-in machines while they last.
Right now, JCW's has 15 bus and billboards depicting our delicious, mouth-watering hamburgers across I-15. We've also just learned that I-15 averages 15 fender benders a day. Probably a coincidence, but just in case, keep your eyes on the road. Here's what our burgers sound like. Now, with your hands at 10 and 2, safely turn into one of our 5 locations in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it.
Progressive knows it ain't easy navigating the open plains of home insurance, but there is one man who can help tame that wild herd of options. The Home Quote Explorer.
Note, Progressive's Home Quote Explorer is not a real person, but an online tool that lets you compare home insurance.
He's the type of feller who helps you decide on the right insurance, even if it ain't with him.
Again, not a person, just an online tool that helps you find great home coverage.
A real pioneer.
Okay, fine. Just do the thing. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Property managers. Customers see your parking lot before they see your lobby. Make the first thing unforgettable with GoPave Utah. Seal coating, crack sealing, striping, and patching. Visit GoPaveUtah.com.
My summer plans are now double the fun with double points on gas and groceries with my Rewards Visa credit card from Cyprus Credit Union. Every time I fill up or buy groceries, I earn double points that I can redeem for cash back, gift cards, travel, and more. Make summer spending twice as rewarding. Visit CyprusCU.com.
Cyprus Credit Union, your future is our future.
Equal Opportunity Lender.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
This is news kind of out of the blue a little bit, but the Department of Energy has named Utah one of its top picks to host a nuclear life cycle innovation campus. It's not official yet, but we're in the top 5. And what I'm seeing here, Jim, is that the Department of Energy sent out application suggestions, and 28 applicants came through from 26 different states to build these nuclear campuses, and we are in the final 5, along with Tennessee, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Idaho, as potential nuclear campus sites.
And now, when you say nuclear campus, I mean, I have images of The Simpsons and Mr. Burns' nuclear power plant, but I'm not quite sure I know what a nuclear campus is.
Yeah. So what it says, what I'm looking at here, is that the campus is so you can build the entire ecosystem from fuel production, that is uranium, processing to advanced reactors and the technologies they power, creating opportunities. I'm reading the governor's statement for innovation, investment, and good-paying jobs. So it is a almost like a campus, because in the sense that it's a learning, but it's also where they're going to be producing parts and where they start the fuel production and that type of thing for nuclear reactors. I mean, let's face it, nuclear is part of our future in this country. I mean, you can't avoid that. And we've even talked on this very show about some of the things that are happening with nuclear, including these really small nuclear reactors that you can put in it. It'll run a town. It's not like the whole thing that runs half the state. And they're apparently safe. They're going to be online, but you've got to have these campuses put together so that we can start putting together that technology, is what it sounds like. It's coming down the road.
Yeah, no, I saw a documentary about this that was talking about, it was fascinating to me that one of the engineers said that all of the nuclear power plants that are in operation today in the United States were built before the advent of computers, pretty much. He calls them slide rule plants.
Yeah.
That the technology has so vastly improved since we built that first round of nuclear power plants that are still in operation. And the newer versions, they don't use water. They cool down the reactors with molten metal, so that if there is some kind of a breach or there's some kind of problem, the power plant just stops working. It doesn't melt down. We don't have the China syndrome stuff going on anymore.
Yeah, I was going to see if you mentioned that.
Yeah. So a lot of the warnings about nuclear power that we all grew up with just don't really apply to this new technology that really hasn't been implemented yet.
Well, we had incidents that occurred. It's been a very long time now. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island. There were things that happened, and of course the China syndrome movie, and we all got scared as a country, as a world planet, that the nuclear power just had too many perils. And of course, you also think about just the situation with what's going on in Iran. Hey, we want nuclear technology so we can power our country. Well, how do we know you're not going to increase the levels of the uranium to such a level that you can build a bomb? I mean, it's just odd and troubling. But we also recognize, I think nuclear energy in today's environment is probably one of the safer, even for our environment. It doesn't burn fossil fuels.
Right.
It doesn't pollute the air. I mean, there certainly is some heat component to it, and I don't know how you just described it, that there's other ways to cool them rather than just flooding them with water all the time. But, for Utah to get this recognition as a part where we could be a nuclear life cycle innovation campus is huge. I mean, it says a lot for us, and I think our governor's excited because it could bring a lot of jobs to the state as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, a lot of talk about nuclear coming to Utah was kind of silly in the past because Utah does not have near enough water to cool a nuclear power plant in terms of the old sort of model of what power plants used to be or really still are, because these new prototypes just haven't come online yet. But you're seeing that same sort of thing with the data center. The amount of water necessary to cool that data center, it just makes no sense to me that they'd want to do something like that when the Great Salt Lake is in a state of collapse. But the technology for nuclear, everything's a trade-off. Nothing is perfectly safe. I don't want to give anybody the impression that I think that there aren't challenges here. But we've talked for most of the morning about this massive heat wave all across the world and how climate change is a reality. And nuclear power plants do not produce greenhouse gases.
Right.
And they need to be part of the mix going forward to how we're going to solve our problems.
And you look at what our military's done with submarines and the nuclear power submarines, and those have been in place for decades without mishap that I'm aware of. I mean, so the technology's there. If you can run a submarine, you can run a small village, I assume, but you can get something bigger than would fit in the submarine as well. But I mean, it does seem like it's the way of the future. We had talked about some of these communities in northern Utah that were setting up at least the infrastructure. Of course, we got to build the campus first. You got to build the technology first to start putting nuclear in operation and starting having that part of what we're doing now. A lot of people are still very concerned about it because of the waste.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you do with the nuclear waste? Because it lasts forever, basically. I mean, the half-life of uranium is something like 1,000 years or something like that. So it's going to be there forever. And what do you do with the waste? And what do you do with the meltdown? But the technology seems to be there. And you hear ads. You don't know how accurate they are, but they say the amount of uranium that to power a nuclear reactor will fit in a soda can.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you still got to get rid of it somewhere, but at least it's not the huge dumps that we've talked about in the past, and where are you going to bury this, and what are you going to do to the landfills, and how are you going to pick it up 20, 30 years from now when it, you know, you got to replace it at some point. So, no, I think it's a good future, and I think it's a good thing for Utah that our governor's been so innovative, and we have the educational infrastructure here, I think, to do something like this. It could be very effective.
No, I think that's true. And even the waste problem is something that technology is getting better at solving. The current technology, as far as I understand it, I'm certainly not a nuclear scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but as I understand it, the new models that they're trying to build, and I think this plays into the concept of a campus, would be able to reprocess spent uranium rods so that the waste doesn't necessarily have to be buried, that
Right.
it can actually be reprocessed, and that the waste is, I don't know if that eliminates waste entirely, but I think it greatly reduces it. That the footprint of burying all of this nuclear waste is significantly smaller
Right.
than it has been in times past.
So, yeah, Utah joins Tennessee, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Idaho's potential nuclear campus sites, according to the Department of Energy. The state agreement with the department doesn't guarantee Utah will be chosen, but it lays a groundwork to be cited at a later date, and the department has asked states to finalize their agreements by September 30th. And according to the energy advisor for the governor, this is an historic opportunity. This is Emmy Lesofsky, who says the economic and infrastructure benefits of hosting a campus like this are generational. We won't see another project like this with similar benefits for decades. So good thing for you. Good thing for Utah.
Are we seeing any opposition to it? Are we seeing anybody coming out and saying this isn't a good thing for Utah?
I can't imagine that we wouldn't. I mean, people are still scared to death of nuclear.
Sure,
And people are still concerned that it, I mean, you know, there are still people that think, you know, the earth can produce wind, it can produce solar. Let's just stick with those because they're safe and they don't produce any byproducts that are problematic. Although solar panels, we're going to find those in our landfills someday.
Sure. Well, again, everything is a trade-off.
Right.
Everything is this, are the benefits, do they outweigh the damage that it will do? And that includes nuclear power. But going forward, it really does seem like this is something that we have to address and have to approach and at least have to consider. And if Utah can be in the forefront of it, I think that's great.
Yeah, and apparently they're going to put this in the west desert of Tooele County. I mean, I'm trying to read between the lines here. I don't know what they call that out there, Dugway. But anyway, the west part of Tooele County could bring billions of dollars to the state, and it'd be great for Tooele County. You know, it could make a big difference. So interesting thing, good news for Utah. We'll see where that goes.
All right. Well, up next on Inside Sources, reports have been circling that the Rio Grande plan in Salt Lake City is dead. This would be the project to bury the rail lines and move the city's central train station. But some city council members say, wait up, not so fast. We'll get updates on the proposal next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour. from ABC News. The Department of Justice sought to help the notorious mobster to strengthen their criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey. ABC's Peter Haralambous tells us more.
Defense lawyers say prosecutors interviewed Sammy the Bull Gravano to ask if he believed Comey's experience prosecuting the Gambino crime family would have led him to believe the term 86 was a reference to murder. Gravano cooperated with the Department of Justice in the 90s and admitted to his involvement in 19 murders, but he told prosecutors that Comey's post wasn't a personal threat to Trump. Comey's lawyers revealed the details as part of their push to have the case thrown out ahead of trial. Peter Haralambous, ABC News.
Prosecutors are targeting Comey for allegedly threatening to kill President Donald Trump by posting a photo of seashells arranged as the numbers 8647 in an Instagram post. In local news, Utah County prosecutors are once again urging a judge to allow them to try the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk. Prosecutors just filed a new memorandum with the court saying they believe they showed more than enough evidence in Tyler Robinson's preliminary hearing to send the case to trial, and they don't believe it's a close case. The defense is expected to file a response by August 11th. It could be weeks until the judge rules whether this case will proceed to trial. Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've still got red across the board. The Dow Jones is now down 765 points. That's 1.4%. The S&P 500 is down 51 points. That's nearly 0.7%. And the NASDAQ is down 186 points. That is 0.75%. Coming up, get that ice maker working. This weekend's going to be hot. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time is 11:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Summer is here. Vacations are booked, pictures are coming, and the pool days are happening. This is Greg Skordas, and this year, don't sit on the sidelines. Start with SOTA, S-O-T-A. No shots, no pills, no crazy restrictions. Get 4 weeks free when you call 866-800-SOTA and mention this radio station. The reason I went with SOTA is this. SOTA believes weight loss should be temporary. Results should not be. Instead of putting me on shots, pills, or expensive medications that can become an ongoing commitment, SOTA taught me how to eat for my body and to keep my weight off for good. Weight loss medications can be expensive for many people, and the bill does not end. SOTA is different. A degreed nutritionist hooked me up with the root causes of my challenges, guided me, and taught me lifelong habits on how to lose weight without signing up for a lifelong bill. And you can get 4 free weeks if you call 866-800-SOTA and mention KSL News Radio. Check out their thousands of success stories, nearly 9,000 Google reviews. Remember, SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
Thinking about replacing your windows? Choose the company that builds and installs them right here in Utah. Advanced Window Products is Utah's local window and door manufacturer that sells directly to homeowners. Nate Orchard here. At Advanced Window Products, there are no dealer fees, no middleman markups, and no extra costs to cover someone else's profit. From manufacturing to installation, every step is handled by Advanced Window Products' local team. Every window is custom built in Salt Lake City for Utah's homes and backed by one of the strongest warranties in the industry. A lifetime warranty covering labor, glass, and parts. Even better, it's fully transferable to the next homeowner. Right now, get $2,000 off when you purchase 10 or more windows. Financing is available, and Dominion Energy rebates may help you save even more. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit us at advancedwindows.com. That's 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
My name is Dale Pazinski.
Polanski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's McKenna Rodriguez.
North and southbound I-15 from Ogden to Provo are looking clear along with your other major freeway, so it's looking like an easy commute this afternoon. And do watch out for those RAM closures near the airport. Northbound I-215 as you transition to I-80. Construction and maintenance will have those blocked off. Need fast, reliable local delivery? Let Pigeon Ship handle it. Same day and next day service trusted by Utah businesses for over 10 years. Stop the stress, avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. Visit pigeonship.com today. McKenna Rodriguez in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, the high is going to hit 97. That's going to be the last double-digit day for a while as temperatures soar through the hundreds this weekend to a high of 106 on Saturday. It's finally going to break back into the 90s on Monday with a high of 99. Right now, though, it's 84 degrees and windy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And I'm joined this morning by Jim Bennett. And Jim, there was a plan that we want to talk about in just a minute, the Rio Grande plan that was in place. It seems like the plan may be in trouble. We'll talk about what that is in just a minute. But the ambitious plan was to bury railroad lines through Salt Lake City, and it failed to advance in the East-West Connection study. Many said the plan was dead after that.
Yeah, and it turns out that some city leaders are pushing back on that assumption. They're saying the discussions aren't over yet, and it sounds like the leaders might just have to get a little more creative.
Yeah, so we have in studio with us KSL reporter Carter Williams, and I butchered the plan, Carter. So tell us what the plan was, and maybe then we can work on where it sits.
Oh, I think you nailed it pretty nicely there. It really is to just kind of bury the lines through this kind of tunnel that would go through where the lines currently exist, so the trains would not block traffic and things like that, and that's essentially what the plan is.
So in what part of the lines? Because I mean, trains run from everywhere.
It would be mostly the areas that are directly west of downtown. So I believe the latest one was 400 north through 13th south, and it's just that section where you have the Rio Grande Depot, which would be restored under this plan as a train station, and it's just kind of that area.
Well, so why is the plan in trouble, or why have people said the plan's in trouble, and you say that maybe it's not?
Cost.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it is a very, very costly project, because you can imagine just with the big dig that happened in Boston that took decades, I believe, and billions of dollars. That's exactly what would happen here. I don't know about time-wise, but at least billions of dollars. There was one study that estimated it's about $3 to $5 billion or more to do this, and that was in 2023. So you can imagine with inflation that's already gone up, and it's a very, very complex project as well that would have to require sign-offs from Union Pacific, Utah Transit Authority, and then also the landowners in that whole area. There's a mix of public and private land. There's the right-of-way. It's very complex, and I think that's the reason why it didn't get included in the We Connect study.
I can imagine, though, Carter, that having those lines buried there would allow that part of Salt Lake City to expand and maybe have more use of those lands for like restaurants, bars, whatever. You know what I mean? Like you could do a lot more there without the lines. So I could imagine there's some benefit financially for that part as well.
Exactly, and you're right, and that's the reason why I think Salt Lake City leaders aren't saying like, hey, we can't throw this away. It's still got some benefits to it. There was a study that came out last year from Utah State University that kind of anticipated that the benefits would range close to the range of about $12 billion.
Right.
So it's very costly and very complex to get to, but the benefits would be there, and it would at least eliminate those barriers that are caused by the trains, which are one of two major barriers between the east and west. You have trains that sometimes last for hours that are just stalled, making it difficult for people to cross those areas, and then you have I-15 and I-80 as well.
Well, then the west side, I mean, I-15 cuts through the east side of the valley. I mean, you've got the west side, you don't have any huge road artery that's going out west like that, and the trains, I think, are designed to mitigate that. So this would be a huge boon to the west side if they were able to do that, wouldn't it?
I would imagine so. It's again, especially with freight trains, you have very long, very slow, and sometimes paused trains that just block so many arteries, and there are just, as you mentioned, very few connections there, and so that's where a lot of the challenges exist.
Yeah, and I've been caught behind those freight trains
for like a half hour.
Yeah,
or
like
more.
we go bicycling through there. We always can hear the trains like, oh, we got to hurry, we got to beat it, which is dangerous by itself. So would this also include the Trax front runner line? Like if I'm riding Trax or front runner, I guess they both go through that area, and I'm going from Ogden to Provo through Salt Lake County, would I go underground for a minute?
Yeah, that would be the case. That would be one of the realms, and that's one of the reasons why UTA would have to be involved in this discussion one way or another. And at this point, it really hasn't gotten that far. It hasn't really had as much of a state. It has been brought up to the legislature in just interim meetings and things like that, but it hasn't gotten to a point of like, let's secure funding, or obviously federal funding, which would be highly needed in a project of this scope.
Yeah, because you're talking billions.
But yes, it would include front runner, and I think that's one of the concerns of that being included, because UTA wants to increase the frequency of front runner in the coming years. Their double tracking plan is getting closer and closer to being in the construction phase, and that includes the possibility of 30-minute service on a regular basis and up to 15 in peak times.
Wow.
So are they actively looking at other sources of funding, particularly federal funding? I know when Trax was built, we had a little more cachet in terms of appeal to the federal government because the Olympics were coming. And so we were building tracks in order to be able to accommodate the world when they descended on the Salt Lake Valley. But now it sounds like, particularly with our current congressional representation, that there doesn't seem to be a lot of appetite to get federal money involved in this. Is that part of the conversation?
I mean, at this point, I don't know if it's gotten that far to have those conversations at the federal level. There was obviously the group that's behind this has pointed that out as well. They say, hey, we're going to host the Olympics. This would be a great way to...
Yeah, we've got Olympics coming back.
Yeah, it's like this is a great way to kind of make it a little bit easier for the people that are coming here, that they aren't stuck behind these trains, or that they just see a different side of Salt Lake City. But at the same time, there's a lot of other projects that are being considered. UTA also had, in addition to the double tracking, they also want to have a fourth Trax line that would go from the University of Utah all the way to the airport. That it would include new parts of the university, and they've kind of signaled the intent that they want to push for that with Olympic funding. So there's definitely multiple projects that they would have to deal with.
So where does this one sit then right now? I mean, it's in the news because something's going on. Tell us what the latest is.
Yeah, so we're still waiting to see what the first rough draft, or I should say the first final rough draft of this plan, this We Connect plan. It may include the Rio Grande plan. That is something that the city leaders have said to me, that they haven't ruled it out entirely. There was this community advisory group that wants other solutions, but city leaders say those solutions can also be costly and maybe not as effective as may look like on paper. And so we're still waiting to see if it's included in that. City leaders also told me that, if it's not included in the study, they want to at least keep it close by, in case, the federal funding does come up somewhere, or maybe the idea generates more sparks. I mean, I think that's the thing with an idea, right? Once it's there, it's always there until it either happens or doesn't. And at this point, it's still up in the air.
Great work.
Thank
Great
you.
article, Carter.
Absolutely. Well, today has been a heavier sort of show, so we're going to finish with something lighter. We want to hear from you. Do you toss your food once the date on the label has passed, or do you only toss it if it smells or looks funny? Text us your thoughts at 57500, and we'll discuss it after the break.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. For more than 40 years, COPIC has supported healthcare professionals with medical liability insurance, education, and patient safety resources, helping strengthen care for Utah communities. Senior Vice President of Public Affairs, Beverly Razan, joins us with more.
At COPIC, we know that a thriving business economy relies on access to a strong healthcare network for its workforce and customers. Utah ranks among the highest states in the nation for employee-sponsored health insurance. That is a big investment into the health of the state. For this reason, COPIC believes partnering with Utah's business and healthcare communities is imperative to ensuring quality and stability. Working together, businesses can thrive and healthcare professionals can focus on patient care. As part of our long-term commitment to Utahns, every year we honor a Utah physician who generously volunteers their time in their community with the COPIC Humanitarian Award. On their behalf, we donate $10,000 to a local nonprofit of the physician's choice, strengthening local organizations who need it most. We're here to support the humans of healthcare, for you, for the greater business community, and for stable healthcare. Learn more about us at copic.com.
By supporting healthcare professionals and investing in Utah communities, COPIC continues to strengthen the state's healthcare system. Their commitment helps create healthier communities and a stronger future for everyone who calls Utah home. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Hi, I'm Maria Chaleos, and I'd like to tell you about my podcast, the KSL News Daily. Every weekday morning, we'll deliver one story explored in depth, plus the 3 things you need to know before your day begins.
But this is new. This is where we human beings are able to trick AI.
This is news with context from the journalists you trust.
agencies were less than willing to speak with us about this.
Find and follow the KSL News Daily at kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Okay, so this is a riddle that plagues us at our house, and that is, what do you do with your food when you pass the born-on date or the expired date? Do you toss it out or do you keep it? My wife and I have a very distinct difference in what we do here, because she is always, hey, it's expired, get rid of it. And I'm always, that's just advisory. That's just a helpful. Let's wait until you see something green or growing on it, and then
until we get botulism.
I'll be good to go.
Well, marriages have ended for less.
I know.
Well, in our house, I don't know that we have a difference of opinion between my wife and myself. I just know up at my mother's house, it's a museum of food there.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back into her pantry, and there are things that the expired labels, you just go, how long has this been sitting here? Sometimes it's years. And she just...
But 90% of it, Jim, is probably okay.
It may well be. It may well
if
be.
it's canned or bottled, it's probably good to go for eons.
Well, this is why we are turning to our listeners here.
Who all have different takes on this, I'm assuming, because I think those dates are good for the manufacturers because they keep you getting new products every couple weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't drink soda pop, but a Coke can, like, doesn't that last like 10 years? I mean, seriously.
I've never seen an expiration date.
I don't know. They probably think everything's got an expiration date, but it seems like something like that just never goes bad.
Well, we've got a message from Rick who says, I toss food in cans only if the date is really old.
Yeah.
And Janice...
That sounds like me.
...just texted and says, if it is too out of date, I jump online to get recommendations from Extension Service. I don't know what that is. Have you ever heard of Extension
I think
Service?
The state probably has an extension service for the FDA or the whatever.
Well,
Department of Agriculture, to say, hey, maybe green beans can live a little longer, but your milk, maybe not so much.
So, yeah. The milk is the one that you lift the lid and you can smell.
You know right away.
Right away. There's no drinking that. Well, I've never heard of this extension service. There's a phone number I can call to say, can I eat these green beans?
I don't know. I just assumed that it was part of our agricultural department, but maybe the same person could weigh in on what the extension service is.
If you'd like to weigh in, text us at 57500 with your answer.
Everybody's got this is the kind of thing, like you said, that it can cause problems with a relationship. I'm one of those guys, and it's not like I'm broke, but if I go to the supermarket and there's the big shopping basket that's got a sign on it, expired items all 50% off, I'm going to go through it and see if there's something there that I like. Now, when I get home, I'm going to hide it because my wife will pitch it. But let's say, like if peanut butter's expired by a couple of weeks. How would you even know? Like I'm probably going to buy that because I'm going to save 50 cents. That's how goofy I am. But
does your wife listen to this? Because now she's heard your strategy.
Oh no, she's got me figured out.
And
she looks at the labels all the time. Well, we can't eat this; it's expired. Well, let's at least give it a smell and see if it or let's cook it. Cook the heck out of it. It'll be fine.
All right. Well, Janice, who texted about the extension service, says it's the Utah State Extension Service.
There you go.
So we've got something from Lori, and she says that. I usually throw out 2 weeks after the expiration date. And we've got an unnamed listener who says, isn't there a difference between a use-by date and an expire date?
That's probably true. And use-by, I think, is advisory, and expired means maybe not.
Well,
I think there's probably is. That's a very good question. I would read those differently.
Well, milk... You look at that and it said that's the sell-by date.
Right, yes.
But if I were to buy milk that it was anywhere near that date, I wouldn't trust it as far as I could throw it.
Yeah.
Milk goes bad like
in a hurry, right.
In a hurry. So sell-by, I don't know anybody that's selling expired milk.
It's just that if you think about it, we are a country that wastes a lot of food, and it's because we're the land of plenty. And let's face it, you go to Costco or any of the big supermarkets, and you see all the food there, and you just know that, maybe 5%, I'm going to throw out a random number, is going to be thrown away.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my father always told me, what about the starving children in, Bangladesh or whatever, and we all went through that. But boy, we as a country, we're spoiled here, because we do have the opportunity to get fresh food all the time, and we don't have to eat expired food because the next batch of food's already out there.
Well, this is a wild callback to the earlier story about Charlie Kirk and how Candace Owens had blamed the Hughes Mafia for all of that. So Howard Hughes, who suffered from tremendous obsessive compulsive disorder, at one point in his life decided that Baskin-Robbins banana nut ice cream was the only thing he was willing to eat. And so the Hughes organization, Baskin-Robbins rotates its flavors. And so they were rotating out banana nut ice cream. And so the Hughes organization bought the entire stock, hundreds and hundreds of gallons. And then Howard Hughes decided he wanted vanilla ice cream instead. So the entire Hughes organization took all of this banana nut ice cream and froze it for years because they didn't want it to go to waste.
But I'm assuming that that does go bad.
I'm assuming eventually it did, but there are legends that even to this day there is some banana nut ice cream sitting somewhere in a freezer that has gone untouched.
Thanks to Howard Hughes.
Thanks to Howard Hughes.
In the same freezer.
We've gotten a bunch of comments here. Diet Coke goes bad, somebody tells us. I'd never heard that.
It might.
My sister buys discounted soda from the Pepsi distributor in Provo. It's often expired. I can definitely taste a difference. USU universities extension services are used for public and commercial services. Okay.
Yeah. It's good to know. It's good to know that.
There are sell by, use by, and best by dates. Obviously, they mean different things. A lot of food waste also happens because our society is too litigious. That's a shot across the bow to the lawyers.
Yeah, well, we deserve it.
If the can is swelling, don't eat it.
Good advice.
I'll use items long after the use by, best by dates.
Yeah, I always do.
The other thing that in our house, it's medications, like cold medication.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because that stuff you don't use on a daily basis.
And how could it possibly go bad?
Well,
maybe it does.
My wife is... she's a physical therapist, but she knows a whole lot more about healthcare than I do. She just says it's less effective. It's not going to hurt you. It's just probably not going to be as strong as it would be otherwise. We're getting all kinds of things now. I used to work at the dump in Provo, and I kid you not, that place would be a supermarket to third world countries.
Yeah, it would be. Right.
Okay, we got Bob S. says, if it looks and smells okay, it's fine. Maybe a little bland, but safe. I also only buy shelf-stable cartons of milk. White chocolate strawberry saves money. Lactose-free milk lasts a whole lot longer, too.
Yeah, and my wife drinks that.
So
let me jump on something here, because I've only got a minute left, because I learned something today, and I've been thinking about it ever since then, so I like to take a minute at the end of the show. We talked about the child that died in the car seat, and the fact that it's gentleman that caused that problem is booked into jail on child abuse homicide, a first-degree felony. And then we interviewed this woman from the child safety group, and she said this, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and I can't get it out of my head, and I'm going to have to think about it tonight, that criminalizing that conduct is actually counterproductive. And I've seen these situations, Jim, when I was a prosecuting attorney. We prosecuted a guy that got drunk and killed his girlfriend or his wife, and we thought, boy, what could be worse than losing your wife? But that's different, because that's more of an outrageous act. I mean, getting drunk and driving a car, maybe you should be responsible, even if you are suffering. Leaving your kid in a car, and she went through the hippocampus and whatever, their brain. I've done it. If you ever get home from work, I thought about this, and you think, what road did I just take? How many red lights did I run? I'm suddenly home. I don't run red lights. You're just sort of on autopilot. And it got me thinking that, maybe we do need to rethink that. I'm going to think about that a lot tonight whether or not decriminalizing something like that really makes a difference or should, because of the punishment people are already suffering. Well, that's it.